Good evening. I call to order the hearing and special meeting of the Conroe Independent School District Board of Trustees for Monday, March 2nd, 2026 to order. The time is 6 p.m. A quorum of the board is present, and this meeting has been duly posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, I ask that we please stand for the invocation to be led by Trustee Dungan and the pledges to be led by Trustee Dawson.
Please join me for prayer. Father God, we come to you tonight thankful for getting us here safely, Lord. We thank you for the many blessings that you've given this district, Lord, and how you continue to guide and guard us, Lord. I ask that in the many decisions that will be made tonight and in the coming weeks, Lord, that you just be in that process, Lord. Just guard the hearts and minds that are making choices that will benefit the children of this district, Lord. Be with us as a board tonight as we conduct the business of this district, God. Have your hands on us, Lord, and allow the decisions we make to be for your will, Lord. I ask that you be with our country, guide our leaders, Lord, protect our troops, and be with us as a nation and just as a world, Lord. We love you, we thank you, and we ask all of this in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you both, and you may be seated. We will now open the public hearing pursuant to Texas Education Code Sections 13.003 and 13.051 regarding the petition seeking detachment of Montgomery Trace Section 4 from Conroe ISD and annexation to Montgomery ISD. The board's role is to determine whether the petition satisfies the statutory prerequisites of Chapter 13, whether the petition is legally sufficient, whether the board has statutory authority to proceed, and to consider the educational and economic impact of the proposed boundary change. This is a fact-finding proceeding required by law. At this time, we will move to citizen participation and public comment in accordance with Board Policy BED Local. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to address the board. The board will listen but will not engage in discussion during this portion of the meeting. Ms. Spurlock, do we have any speakers? All right, seeing as we have no one signed up to speak, we will move forward with this hearing. We will move into the presentation of Petitioner Wisdom Idolette. You will have 10 minutes to present, and the board may ask questions following your presentation. And Mr. Stewart, you are ready to go with the slides, correct? All right.
All right.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? All right. My name is Wisdom Idolette. I'm a resident of the Montgomery Trace Section 4 neighborhood. First, thank you for your time and effort in this. I know this is a unorthodox thing that you guys are having to handle and research, so the effort that went into that, thank you for that. So, as mentioned, the purpose of this petition is for the interests of the neighborhood, Montgomery Trace Section 4. The majority of the residents in that neighborhood wish to detach from Conroe ISD and be annexed into Montgomery ISD per Texas Education Code. A little bit about our neighborhood. So on the right is kind of a part of Conroe ISD. TEC says that to be able to detach and annex, you have to be on the edge of the districts. Ours is in that bottom left portion on the red box. Essentially, our north and western borders touch Montgomery ISD, so we meet that requirement. It's a very small area. We have about 80 homes only, and it's about 0.03% of your Conroe ISD students are currently attending from that neighborhood. Zooming in a little bit more, just to get a little bit more context. So talking about the actual territory, at some point in the past, don't know when, Conroe ISD and Montgomery ISD borders, when they were drawn the borders, essentially the border came down from the north, came down south, jumped across a creek, grabbed our neighborhood, then jumped back across the creek to continue elsewhere. Not sure why that happened. Don't have any history there, but from everybody we talked to, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Also of interest is the only road to get to our neighborhood is Honia Egypt Road. It goes north and south on the west side of our neighborhood. It's the only way to get there, and pretty much every neighborhood, every home, 2 to 3 miles north and south on that road is in Montgomery. So we're this isolated neighborhood wrong word, still in Conroe ISD. So at the very least, just making this change from this petition would kind of correct that strange adoption of the borders from the very beginning. Strangely enough, too, the Conroe buses have to drive 4 to 8 extra miles just to get to our neighborhood, pick up kids, and then go back through Montgomery and Magnolia districts to leave. All right, so Texas Education Code also says that a majority of registered voters have to sign the petition. We made about 53% of the registered voters from our neighborhood. Took a while. A lot of people didn't want to answer their doors, but we got it. What I wanted to call out here is that what we found by talking to people was that there were a lot of people that were still registered to vote that were no longer actually living in our neighborhood. We found at least, I think, 27 people that shouldn't actually be registered in our neighborhood, but nonetheless, that was the number we had to go to. But when you take out and look at people actually living in our neighborhood, we actually got about 63% of the residents to sign the petition. So almost 2/3 are in support of this, and we've actually got a few more votes since then. And about 12% we never talked to at all. So, all right. So obviously, Texas Education Code says we have to consider the social, economic, and educational effects as well. Talking to neighbors before we create the petition, this is kind of the concepts, the opinions that people had. I'm just going to run through these real quick. I know it's kind of, we don't want to make this as an attack on Conroe. Conroe is a great district. It's just this is what people's opinions were. First off, MISD schools were closer on average, so families liked the idea that the Montgomery schools are closer on average. Families like the idea that they were closer. All right, it makes it quicker to get to school. It's safer in terms of if there's an emergency, you can respond faster. Second item is building stronger social relationships. A lot of the people we talked to thought they were in Montgomery. They go to church in Montgomery. They shop in Montgomery. They have family in Montgomery. So most people we talked to felt like they were already part of Montgomery, and just being part of the MISD district would have just helped build that social relationship as well. Number 3 is the areas around MISD schools are safer on average, at least the ones we're zoned to. And we looked at crimegrades.org website. So that's specifically for the junior high and high school. Number 2, already mentioned that the buses, it's kind of a small benefit for you guys that you wouldn't have to send buses down as well. And number 5 is, as parents, we want our kids to succeed as much as they can. What we saw was that the proficiency scores, SAT scores, were a little bit higher at the Montgomery side versus the Conroe schools that we were zoned to. So that was just another draw for us to be able to go to Montgomery instead of Conroe. So that's all the kind of the arguments that we came up with initially. I want to address some of the challenges that we've seen, that we've heard from Montgomery, that we've heard from Conroe ISD Legal Counsel. I just want to go through these real quick. The first one is that there is a ratio, a calculation inside of the Texas Education Code that essentially looks at the tax base of the territory as a percentage of the district and compares it to the students as a percentage of the district. And when we first saw that, we were thinking, okay, that's probably not an issue, no big deal. But it turns out, according to legal counsel, that seems to be an issue. We're about 4 students short, so if we had 4 more students attending Conroe inside the neighborhood, we would have met this calculation requirement, which is kind of surprising. But and to this point, I think all of these challenges have ways around it. I think there's ways to work with these. And for this one, Texas Education Code actually makes it pretty clear there is a way to meet this requirement, is simply to get a majority of Conroe ISD board members to sign the petition. So I have the petition here if you guys want to sign it afterwards. That would just meet that requirement. We could go and try to gerrymander another line through the neighborhood to make it to where the calculation meets the TEC code, but that's not really the intent, right? But it is an option. Number two, so this is related to the meets and bounds description. CISD legal counsel said that the description we provided, it was inadequate because it failed to provide an official and unambiguous legal description. To that point, there are no legal filings of the meets and bounds in a legal format available to the public from the county. All we had was the plat of the neighborhood. So that's what we worked with. We didn't have anybody, lawyers or anybody, no surveyors in the group, right, that helped form this petition. We worked with what we had. Talking with people, I don't think anybody I've talked to is actually confused as to what territory we want to get moved over. If this went to the county commissioners, I think they wouldn't have any problem trying to figure out what territory, what bounds they would have to move over. We talked to a surveyor, and he said, oh yeah, it's really easy to calculate the meets and bounds and put it in a description. We just didn't happen to do it in our petition because we honestly didn't know better. And then lastly, I think just our petition meets the spirit of the law. We're not lawyers. We didn't think of this as a legal document. So it's just public people trying to communicate their desire. And then number three is something that Montgomery ISD mentioned to me. This is beyond our understanding, but it seems like there might be some need for some debt to move over from Conroe to Montgomery based on Texas Education Code or some other legal requirements that we're not familiar with. And Montgomery was kind of against this simply because they didn't know how long it would take them to pay off that debt that they would have to take on. So they couldn't support the petition simply on those grounds as well. But there's a solution to that. It's could not transfer the debt at all. It's 0.03% of your district. And honestly, I don't see, there's not like Montgomery gets any assets when they do this. If this petition was for 50% of the district, then technically they'd have to move over 50% of the debt, but they might not get any schools or anything to support that. So the other option is to work with TEA, figure out what the actual payment schedule would be, maybe follow the bond payment period of 25 to 30 years, whatever it is. But that's just an option that we could do. So just in summary, I recognize there's challenges to this. There's reasons not to do this. There's reasons to do this. But at the end of the day, this is something that the majority of the people in the area want. There's reasons that they believe to move over, that benefits the families and the students in that area. I simply think this is a matter of figuring out how the school districts make it happen to support the public interest of this petition. So with that, thank you for your time.
Trustees, do you have any questions for Mr. Idolette? Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, so.
I do have a question.
Okay, all right.
Legal counsel, is it possible to not transfer debt to MISD? I don't know how that's.
I'm sorry, I was just trying to look that up. I think the statute says you have to, but I need to look it up. I don't have a firm answer on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, at this time, we'll move into the presentation on behalf of Conroe ISD, and Kara Ballou, our general counsel for the district, will have 10 minutes to share information, followed by questions from the board.
Is the microphone on? Okay, thank you so much, board. I really appreciate Mr. Idolette, a concerned citizen who's come before you, made a great presentation, so we greatly appreciate his hard work and the value he and his community bring to Conroe ISD. I just have a quick presentation to address a few of the concerns with the movement of the property. As Mr. Idolette mentioned, Montgomery ISD has already voted not to or against this annexation, in large part because they were concerned about the debt that they would have to take on, but they were concerned about some other issues as well. One issue that is significant for the taxpayers impacted is that currently Conroe ISD's tax rate is lower than Montgomery ISD's tax rate. And while it might not seem like much, the average home in this area is about $402,000. And so each taxpayer, if this properties were annexed to Montgomery, each taxpayer in the area would pay on average $568 more per year in property taxes. So it would be a significant tax increase to each homeowner. The next thing is, and this is probably the most important legal issue that is insurmountable, is that currently the statute reads that the annexation can only take place if certain statutory requirements are met. One of the central statutory requirements is that you have to compare some ratios to make sure things are equitable, and this is to make sure things are fair the district where the property is being detached from. And so what the ratio analysis asks us to do is take the assessed value of the area divided by the total assessed value of Conroe ISD, and then compare that number or that ratio to the number of school-aged children divided by the total enrollment of children in Conroe ISD. And if the first ratio is larger than the second ratio, then statutorily the annexation cannot go forward because it does not meet a required prerequisite for an annexation to take place. So without that moving forward, there's no legal way for the board to allow for the annexation. And then the final point we wanted to make is that Montgomery ISD has an open transfer policy, and it's routinely allowing Conroe ISD students to transfer and attend Montgomery ISD. So there's no need for a formal annexation if some Montgomery ISD students choose to avail themselves, or Conroe ISD students are choosing to avail themselves of the opportunity to attend Montgomery ISD. And with that, that's all that we had for today.
Any questions, trustees? All right, moving on. The trustees will now consider adoption of findings of fact and a resolution regarding the petition. The board makes the following findings for the record. The board has reviewed the petition submitted pursuant to Texas Education Code Chapter 13 and the evidence presented during this hearing, including valuation data provided by the appropriate appraisal authorities. Texas Education Code Chapter 13 requires that certain minimum taxable property value ratios be satisfied before a board of trustees has authority to approve and proceed with detachment and annexation. Based on the evidence presented, the taxable property value of the territory proposed to be detached, one comparable to the taxable property value of the affected district or districts, does not meet the minimum statutory ratio required by Chapter 13. Compliance with the statutory requirements of Chapter 13 is a mandatory and jurisdictional issue because the required property value ratio has not been satisfied. The board lacks statutory authority to proceed to consider and approve the requested boundary change. This is based solely upon the statutory requirements of Texas Education Code Chapter 13 and the record before the board. So, in summary, the threshold for the ratio analysis necessary has not been met. To move Montgomery Trace 4 out of CISD to MISD would constitute a taxable increase to taxpayers. And given that Montgomery ISD already has an open enrollment and option, thus making annexation unnecessary, I move that the board determine that the petition filed by Wisdom Idolette seeking detachment of Montgomery Trace Section 4 from Conroe ISD and annexation to Montgomery ISD fails to satisfy the mandatory property value ratio requirement set forth in Texas Education Code Chapter 13, including the applicable requirements of Section 13.003 and 13.051. In that, the ratio of taxable property value of the territory proposed to be detached to the taxable property value of the affected districts does not meet the statutory threshold. And further, that the board adopt the findings of fact and resolution reflecting the determination and decline to proceed with the requested detachment and annexation. I have made this motion. Is there a second? And then we will have discussion.
A second.
Okay, we are open. The floor is open for discussion and any questions.
I just have a question for Mr.
Idolette?
Yes, Adeline, thank you.
Mr. Idolette? Oops, sorry, my mic was off. She has another question, sir.
Hi, thank
Hi.
you so much. Appreciate your time tonight. Curious, were you aware that the Magnolia District the Montgomery District had open enrollment?
So they actually don't have open enrollment anymore. They stopped that a year or two ago. We'd actually planned to take advantage of that. A lot of families had. But they stopped that. They had limited open enrollment last year for 2 schools, but not open enrollment for anybody. And then now they have a application-based interest, so it's a very limited open enrollment pathway for that as well.
So
it's
has
not,
that been
it's not full open
discussed?
enrollment, yeah. I mean, we're certainly going to look into that. yeah.
I'm just asking, no, just personally with your options, I don't know what grades your children are in or your neighbor's children, but I didn't know what the possibility of that opportunity would
We'd have to
be.
apply for it, just like anybody else.
But it sounds like you're saying that's a limited opportunity,
Yes,
that's not
what we're being-
guaranteed?
That's what we're being told, yes.
Because I just want to make that clear,
Yeah.
and I'm glad you had that insight, because the decision here is being based on the fact that the district, Montgomery District, has open enrollment, and you're telling me that's not exactly the case?
Correct. Yeah, they finished the board meeting clarifying that for us, that there was a application base, but it's limited, so.
Can you tell us how many children, K through 12, are in this neighborhood that this would affect?
So 22, I believe, is what.
Total for K through 12?
That is K through 12 for currently enrolled in Conroe.
But I mean,
Oh,
total.
Oh, total.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact numbers. I know there are some families that got into open enrollment into Montgomery before they closed it. I'd have to guess another 5 to 10. There are a lot of homeschooling families as well in the neighborhood that were looking at putting their kids in junior high, high school.
So there's some that have already transferred.
There are
Montgomery.
some that already transferred to Montgomery before Montgomery closed their open enrollment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's only 22 remaining
Correct.
in Conroe. Okay.
And you said they closed that last year?
I think it was maybe the last year or the year before. Okay, yeah, at least
2
2
years?
years, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
So to be clear on that.
no problem, thank you.
I have a question, perhaps for one of our Conroe ISD people. You mentioned that your neighborhood jumped the creek, and it was the only one that jumps the creek. Do we have any historical information on how that happened or how we acquired that?
I do not, I'm sorry. I feel like I need to walk up here.
It's a
If
climatic.
you don't have it, nobody does.
And
Thank
Mr.
you.
McCord, to that point, because he mentioned that the buses are having to drive, I think he said, I don't know the number of miles, I think he said 8. Our buses are having to drive through their district, through their lines to get to their,
They go up Pony Egypt, just like we do on the east side. in
but they're
Cane
having to
Creek.
drive through a separate district to get into their neighborhood and then drive back out. Is that correct?
And that's not the only place we do that.
Okay.
Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Just
On
want to
the
make
west
sure I
side,
heard that
up Pony
correctly.
Egypt, north and south.
And you don't know how many miles that is? Just out of curiosity?
It says
I do-
2 to 3 on
Does it?
Mr.
Okay.
Idolette's, on Mr. Idolette's, I'm
Oh,
not sure.
there it is. Okay. It does say it on here.
Thanks.
Mr. McCord, I am so sorry. I just lost my train of thought on that. I was going to ask you a question. Oh, and you said that's not the only location that we do that?
No, we do that also in Candy Creek, where we have to go through Splendora ISD. We get masses of kids back and forth to Candy Creek, Moorhead, coming south and north as we go through Splendora ISD.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question. How many homes would this impact with the
80.
with the annexation? How many total homes?
The information we had, I believe Mrs. Blue, was 94 homes would be impacted by the tax rate and the whole thing, 94 homes.
And do all 94 homeowners know that this would affect Maybe Mr. Idolette can answer.
That was one of my questions, so I'm glad you asked it.
So I think there's maybe 94 lots. There's 80 homes, actual residents of the people in them. Some are actually, nobody's living there, but to answer your question about the tax rate increase, yes, we discussed that with every single person we talked to. We included it in our Facebook chats. We want to make sure that was clear. And even so, everybody we talked to that signed the petition was completely fine with that. They thought it was worth it. So.
Was anybody against it?
Yes, yeah, there were a few people who were against it, of course.
Yeah.
I think for the people over 65, their taxes are locked in, so it didn't really impact them. It was that window of adults that didn't have kids that would have had the tax increase. Most of them said yes, that by all means, let's move over. I don't care about the extra cost. And I think it's like maybe 2 or 3 families that said no because of those grounds. So,
Thank you.
yep.
I think there's still concern about the debt issue, because Montgomery did say no based on that. I think we would need to get firm answer on transferring the debt and what that would look like.
Ms. Blue, is that something we could get now, or will that take time?
I've been searching for it. I'm so sorry.
And just to recall, the question was, is that necessary?
I think
Must
the
we do
question
that?
is, could you guys just of your own accord keep the debt? I'm just going to point out maybe a logical issue with that, which is that then you would be paying the debt, right? Instead of their taxpayers, even though their kids are attending Montgomery ISD. So that was the solution that was mentioned, is maybe you guys would just retain the debt and it wouldn't go to Montgomery. And I think that, there's some issues probably with that anyway.
As well as the fact that we wouldn't be even bringing in even the ADA on it. So we would be like 2 times, double whammy.
And another thing to consider is because we're losing that taxable value for Conroe ISD, we're actually losing revenue in our debt service fund. Now, in the maintenance and operations fund, it doesn't really matter because the size of the cup is determined by student enrollment, although it would impact that because we would lose ADA, but we would be essentially keeping the debt but then losing revenue on the debt side as well, if it was decided that we did not need to move the debt.
The taxable amount that we would lose by losing those
It's about 38 million.
38 million.
And you are correct, there's 94 parcels in that subdivision based on the Montgomery Central Appraisal District records.
Karen, could I ask a quick question if you had
Sure.
the answer to it? Do you know how many students are currently enrolled in Montgomery ISD in that 94?
Like today,
Yeah.
I think Mr. McCord looked at the bus routes that have been, they've ridden the bus at least once this year or been on the route. I think there's 26 now.
So there's 26 students that are in Conroe ISD, but they're actually going to Montgomery. And I just want to.
No, those are our kids. Those are our kids in this subdivision that are enrolled
How
in
many are going
Conroe.
to
I don't know how
Montgomery?
many are transferred.
I don't think we
know
would-
if we would know that
we wouldn't know that.
information.
Okay.
Would Mr. Adalette know that? I thought he gave an estimate.
He doesn't have the official, though.
Based on talking with
Just a
parents,
guess,
I didn't
okay.
ever do an official count. But she mentioned 26 students?
That was for Conroe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess we're not clear on how many kids are transferring in. I will mention that Montgomery ISD does have a transfer policy up online, and it was our understanding that many Conroe ISD students were transferring into Montgomery ISD. So I'm not sure. I guess we don't have the number, but I wasn't aware that they'd stopped that transfer policy because it's up online, and they're indicating that they are accepting transfers.
So is the transfer option different than open enrollment?
It's open enrollment. You apply, you fill out an application to transfer into that ISD, and they do have that application up online right now, but maybe they may have more information than.
It seems like, that's a long time to leave it up if you're not
Trustees,
doing it.
if I might.
Yes.
I've been through the process of transfer several times. And so what would happen is this, everybody has to apply for a transfer.
Yes.
And so based on those standards, what I would is say that you'd be in good standing academically, good grades and behavior, whatever those kind of situations are. So there was a litmus test to evaluate anyone who was going to transfer into the district. I don't know any school district that doesn't have some of those standards in terms of the application process. And so when you're doing that, it would be unwise to be able to not take those standards. So that's where we are.
I wanted to speak to the 22 kids versus 26. I know your ears kind of perked up when I said 26. The statute requires that ratio calculation for the enrolled students versus total enrollment be done as of the last day of school in the preceding school year. So that's why we're using 22 in the calculation.
And on the assessed value, it says 50 million here, but did you say it was 38?
Yes, assessed value and taxable value are two different
Oh,
things.
okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, because you already sat down. I'm sorry. You said, can you explain that, how we go from
So,
38 to 50 million?
Assessed value is the assessed value of the home before exemptions are applied. So your homestead exemption, your over 65 exemptions get you from assessed to taxable. So it goes market value, assessed value, taxable value.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any other questions or discussion regarding this topic? Are we ready to call the vote? Okay. All those in favor of the motion that has been presented, and Ms. Burlock, you have that, or if not, let me know and I'll get that to you. All those in favor show by the uplift of,
Yeah,
I-
it's very long.
it's very long. I move that the board determine that the petition filed by Wisdom Idolette seeking detachment of Montgomery Trace Section 4 from Conroe ISD and annexation to Montgomery ISD fails to satisfy the mandatory property value ratio requirement set forth in Texas Education Code Chapter 13, including the applicable requirements of Sections 13.03 and 13.051. In that ratio of taxable property value of the territory proposed be detached to the taxable, it's a little wordy, property value of the affected district does not meet the statutory threshold. And further, that the board adopt the findings of fact and resolution reflecting the determination and decline to proceed with the requested detachment and annexation. And it did receive a first and a second. Everyone good with that? Okay. All those in favor, please show by the uplift of hands. Okay. That's 6-4 and 6 in favor, I should say, and 0 opposed. So the motion carries. Okay, this concludes the board's consideration of the petition, and the hearing portion of the special meeting is hereby concluded. We will now proceed with the remainder of the special meeting agenda, and I do thank you, Mr. Idolette, and I wish the neighborhood continued success. All right. Ms. Burlock, do we have anyone signed up for? Okay, so we would normally move into citizen participation, but seeing as it appears that no one has signed up to speak, we will move forward with the next item on the agenda, which is the closed session. The time is 6:34 p.m.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I move that the closed session item 2, school board operating procedures, be discussed in open session. This item does not fall within the personnel exceptions outlined in Texas Government Code Section 551.074, and therefore should not be considered in closed session.
Okay, seeing no second, the motion fails. Moving forward, the board will move to closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code 551.074A1 to deliberate regarding the superintendent goals and planning and school board operating procedures. All final votes, actions, or decisions will be taken in open session. At this time, 6:30.
Misty.
Oh, yes.
Madam President, I would
Yes.
like to ask for clarification on that item does fall beneath the code that was just stated.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's, I don't have the agenda right in front of me, but it fits into board duties, which is a very clear exception to the Texas Open Meetings Act.
So it does fall under board duties, which does fall under the code
Yes, ma'am.
stated, so we are within legal bounds.
It looks like that code to me was concerning individuals and classes of employees, which is why the superintendent was under there. It didn't look like it had any board duties in it when I went through it.
It is deliberation regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer. You guys are public officer, and the operating procedures manual is regarding your duties. In addition, your operating procedures manual includes some of the duties and the goals of the superintendent, and those are as part of his evaluation, and those are also allowed in closed session.
Thank you,
As an
Ms.
exception to the
Lynn. Thank
Texas
you
Open
very
Meetings
much.
About
Act.
being individual officers, though, and not a class of officers. So I'm concerned that this doesn't belong in closed session.
Noted. Thank you very much. The time is 6:36, and we are now in closed session. All right. The time is, in reality, 6:04. Just for the record, I'd like to correct that the clock was off at the dais at the beginning and the end of last session, and we actually opened the board meeting at 5, and we concluded our special hearing at 5:36. Out of an abundance of caution, the time is 6:04, and the board has come forth back to open session to discuss superintendent goals planning and school board operating procedures in open session. However, we will move anything that has to do with superintendent goals and planning and things related to the superintendent's employment to closed session. All right, I will turn this over to our DocCentis reps here.
Okay, well, good evening. If you will, you should have a copy of the board operating procedures, the draft that we're looking through. And we are on the section entitled Trustee Goals and Strategic Plan, beginning on page 13. And so I'm going to give just a moment to make sure that
I'm not on speaker. We already had a copy of this, but there's another one for you to have.
So we are reviewing a draft of the potential board operating procedures for consideration for the board. And we are helping to facilitate this conversation and gather input from you all as board members. My understanding is that you had a copy of the draft where you were able to read and make notations so that we could all prepare for this discussion this evening. And so that's what I'm operating under the assumption of this evening. And so with that, I have marked that we need to discuss starting at trustee goals and strategic plan. If it's okay, I'm going to hang on just one moment. Wait just a moment. Everybody have a copy while I'm waiting and checking? Yes? Okay.
So while we're waiting for her, I do understand we received this copy prior to this meeting. I just want to be clear that we were leaving off at the end of page 12 in our previous meeting of the information that was presented. And as far as this draft goes, where do we pick up at the end of page
At the beginning
12 of the previous version?
I have marked that we are starting at the new section of trustee goals and strategic plan.
Okay, it's just the page numbers aren't matching.
And they may not have been because we've updated some edits based on input, so they may be a little bit.
For the original 1 through 12 pages?
Yes, so
Okay.
make sure, and then my copy also has sections where legal counsel has, aligned the law, so I have comments, so it moves my numbering on my
Okay,
digital
yeah,
copy.
following our
So
last
that's probably
meeting,
the problem.
I made-
Trustee goals and strategic plan, I'll go by title.
That would be helpful, thank you.
Okay, and then what page number is that for you all?
That was page 13 of the
Okay,
previous
yes.
version.
Yep, okay. Okay, so because you've had a chance to read in advance and make notations, what I'd like to do is just walk through each of these section by section, and then you can speak up if there's things that need to be discussed or recommendations or suggestions that you'd like to make, and we'll get some feedback in terms of how we can further finalize these documents, and they'll be more ripe for a vote for y'all. So, with that, we have a section that says, how will the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees achieve trustee goals? And I'd like to just open it up to this. This is really like just over, slightly over one page. So I think we just start from the beginning. Do I have some comments or concerns or suggestions that need discussion in this section?
I would just make a recommendation where, on the goals, utilize BQ, BQA, BQB to be spelled out since it's not already delineated in the document.
Okay,
Is that a policy?
that's a policy reference, so you thinking,
BQ is a policy.
No, I know.
Oh.
you
But
think
it's-
state board policy
Yeah,
formally?
I mean,
I like
yeah.
that. That's a great suggestion.
It's just not mentioned in this document, so for clarity.
I want to make sure I understand. You actually just wanted to make the marker of this is board policy. You don't want the actual policy in there.
Just, I want the name.
Got it.
So
Okay.
what I'm
Thank you.
adjusting in each of these, do you want to come join us? All right. So what I'm doing is I'm adjusting that on my copy, and I'm doing this in suggestion mode so that I can capture this correctly. Board policy, BQ, planning and decision-making process. Board policy, BQA, planning and decision-making process, CISD district level, et cetera. So I'm adding board planning to the
Right.
beginning of those so that it's clear that it's
Right,
indicating
yeah,
board policy.
if someone in the public is reading it, they know exactly what we're referring to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Something else that, a question I have, I didn't see, and I don't know if it's required, a mid-course adjustment, if there's anything to the strategic plan, if that's needed. I don't see, does the board have to reapprove those? Is there a process for that? And does that need to be documented in this section?
So it sounds to me what's up for some discussion is whether or not we need to add some language in for what the iteration of that strategic plan looks like.
Where's Dr. Vincent? I would assume that would be part of Dr. Vincent's strategic plan, right? Kind of the regular updates. So we'll be seeing that as part of the goals.
Well, are you saying if he makes an adjustment to the strategic goals? I'm not saying the review
making
of progress. Yeah, I'm just
adjustments,
saying like
right.
an adjustment to anything that was part of the 5-year plan. Any of a goal was added to that strategic plan and/or is accomplished needs to be removed, what be it?
I want to make sure I understand. You want a formal thought process that says if a need arises for a change, it will be brought back to the board.
Correct.
Can it be that simple?
Yep.
Does that work?
Where do you want to put that? You're suggesting maybe that
I think we just figured out where.
third paragraph?
Yeah,
Okay.
right at the very bottom.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're all looking at the same thing. So as soon as you get that correction or that edit, would you stop for just a second?
Yes. Okay, so I was going to put a notation, but do we want to try to wordsmith that so that we can all hear it so that it's complete as
To be
complete as
very honest,
possible?
I have no idea what
were-
has been
yeah.
discussed because I just found where we were because titles were changed. So
Okay.
we didn't know where we were. So go ahead.
Okay, so would you mind, Ms. Gambino, suggesting where in
What
the
page number?
section you'd like for that addition to be
Page
made? Let's
13.
start there, and then we can direct everybody to where we're.
Okay, so I'm looking at hold on.
13 of the document, we were supposed to look at.
I'm just
for-
looking at the new one at this
Oh,
point.
okay, you're looking at the new
Yep.
one, which if I'm not mistaken is
It's
page 7.
Correct.
Good,
Yeah.
just because I just
Okay,
have
so-
correlated.
Are we looking at the old version or the new version when we're editing?
So at this point,
This-
from this section on, it would be the same,
It's the same.
language, yes.
Okay.
But it's a new
Yes.
version, so we're page 7 of the new version.
Page 7, if you have the new version, it would be page 7 then.
Okay, but
But
it's the
it-
same language for
No,
the
because
rest
on
of-
the top of that, it says on page 7, district goals and superintendent priorities, but at the top of page 13, it says trustee goals and strategic plan.
I believe because there was a suggestion that we realign the language so that it all matched, so.
Okay, and that's fine. I just
Yes.
wanted, that's why it was taking us a little
little bit
while,
longer?
because
Okay.
we were going based on the title and it wasn't matching up. And so
Yeah.
we had to go word for word looking for it, so, okay.
That's what I was trying to say, but I
All
didn't
right,
do a very
so
good
I'm
job.
looking,
Okay,
in answer
okay.
to your question, trustee Dawson, I'm looking at page 13 of the old, but I've also got page 7 up just to look, of the new, just to look. So go ahead, I'm sorry, trustee Gambino.
In terms of where it would apply, I mean, probably at the end would probably be sufficient.
At the end of the entire section?
Yeah, I think so.
Or the second to last paragraph where it talks about implementing a 5-year superintendent strategic plan. At the end of that first sentence.
That's where I had my cursor, but I also want to make sure it's where
I think that makes
the
sense.
suggestion is being made.
And
Yeah,
I
these
just- I wanna-
are different documents.
these are completely different
These are
documents.
different documents.
So,
Because I'm looking at the new one
Yeah,
and it
it's not
looks
the
completely
same.
different from what I'm looking
Is
at.
the one that you're looking, how many pages does the one you're looking at have? Like the old one? that you're
The
calling
old one,
41.
Which
Okay.
one do you have? Which
the one that we left here with and we said we were going to go through and edit,
Edit.
43.
I'm looking at the one that y'all sent, recently.
Yeah, but-
on my computer.
I think we
too,
just
and it's the
need
same
to-
as this, so.
The problem is that you've all made notes depending on whichever one you either printed out or kept with you that you were looking at originally. is
Correct.
what Yes.
So I personally used the original document that we left here with
Okay.
after the first meeting. I'm only speaking for myself, but that was the plan
And that's
leaving the
what I
meeting.
did, because we'd said we'd go from this document.
On to.
Yes.
That's what I'm
forward.
also editing.
So that's, did you use that old document or did you go from the new?
I was using the new document, but
Okay.
I just got a new print of the old document.
Okay,
I like the new document, it's much cleaner.
well,
It's really good.
I have
Well,
not
the
reviewed
problem
it.
is you guys sent new edits and we're all looking at different versions.
Well, so I would say 99% of the edits are from that initial 13 pages. Now, if there was language that was aligned, for example, district versus the use of trustees, or the strategic plan was named specifically as opposed to superintendent's priorities, or however that got shifted, then there were some of those that were made, but the vast majority should be very similar. Would you
When
like
you
for
say
me?
similar, I mean, these are, just by the first 2 pages, these are very different, so.
Well, yes, they're gonna be, yes, we received from the first time that we were all together, we received feedback and made those updates.
On the
with
first few
assumption-
pages.
Yes, with the assumption that we would start with, on the old document, the original document, and review last month from page 13. Now, in the new document, can we have that printed out? So, because I can pull it up and toggle digitally either way, and that way we can give you references. Hang on just a second, let me pull that.
Because
Well,
one thing
again-
we want to avoid being out here per legal advice is that we're not going to be discussing superintendent-specific items. And it looks to me like, at least just reviewing the first couple of pages, that they're interwoven now with where we left off from the old document versus where we're picking up in this new document. So if you could clarify, maybe give me some information or some feedback on that, because
Sure.
I was looking at the old document, and this is going to be very confusing moving forward.
Yeah, yes, I think we can. I think we just need to make sure that we're referencing, both documents. So the document that you should have received on February 3rd, I'm looking at that. You have that one up as well? I'm still showing where we have the trustee goals and strategic plan. And
On page 13.
on page 13. That's what I'm showing. We've had the suggestion for board policy to be added to the BQ, BQA, and BQB series, just so that there's clarity. And then you see where the square bullets, well, they're not bullets, but the square checklist is down there about the third paragraph. So what we're trying to decide at this point, moving on, do you see the paragraph where it says to ensure trustee goal achievement, the superintendent will develop a 5-year superintendent strategic plan? So what trustee Gambino has proposed is that we add some language in there, maybe within the bottom of that paragraph or at the end of the section, whichever y'all believe would be most appropriate, is some type of language that allows for the iteration or review of that strategic plan as part of this language. Am I summarizing your suggestion correctly?
Okay, yeah, 3 pages of the old document now make up 1 page of the new document, is what it looks like.
That would be very true.
So let's, if we're comparing, because then we jump to officer duties.
I think the question is, on the strategic plan, you guys are considering evaluating the superintendent on that strategic plan and the goals in that strategic plan. So do you want to explicitly put in here that you're going to approve the superintendent's strategic plan?
Is that
School
what
board
we
member
were
Gambino, is that
talking
what is that what she's referring to?
I don't know that
No,
that's
I
what.
think
That's not what
no.
you're thinking.
I
Okay.
think she's just wanting to be able to have flexibility to adjust the 5-year strategic plan if we need to.
To reevaluate if at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's any adjustments that need to be made to
Yes.
it, added
And
to
just-
it, or the
yeah.
direction changes before that said time.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I just don't know what version we're using to add that in.
I think she
because these
toggled
are
back,
2
didn't you?
different versions.
So what I have is the digital copy of the most recent version so that I can make suggested edits, so that way I can encapsulate what our discussion is and what our suggested edits are for a final clean version. So I'm looking at the most recent document.
And my only
But-
point is that we didn't even touch on we stopped at page 14, and page 7 of the new document has been updated. Right, just so are y'all all aware of that?
So the new one came to us yesterday. It was linked in the email Dr. Vincent sent us.
I understand that, but
But
I've made
we
my
got this
notations
back
weeks
at
ago.
back in February, and when we were here, and when we left, we said that we would work from this document for edits. I was not aware that the second part of our meeting had been changed as well. So that is where the confusion has come in. You may have just looked at it yesterday, but we were working on this last month.
Please review and be prepared to discuss. I've also read the other one. I thought this was the cleaned up version of the other one.
We didn't get all the way through the document. You weren't here. We got to page 14 and we stopped. So nothing was addressed.
Okay, so
past
let's
that
just
point.
pick up where we are so we can keep moving. Could you rephrase what?
Yes, so the suggestion was inside of the strategic plan component to leave room for iteration of that 5-year plan. So on inside of, and everybody found the paragraph that says to ensure trustee goal achievement, the superintendent will develop and implement a 5-year superintendent strategic plan.
To
You see that paragraph in this section? Okay.
In the old version.
It aligns with trustees' goals and includes priority strategies, timelines, and milestones for achievement. And so I think what Mr. Morrison said was that a way that could encapsulate room for iteration or change, but with board oversight is that we can add a sentence that says the strategic plan will not be altered or adjusted without board approval. So if there are iterations during that 5-year, once there's an initial 5-year plan that is developed and adopted, then any of those iterations, or if there needs to be a change within that 5 years or an adjustment of the content of the document, then it could be proposed by district administration, and then this language would ensure that it would be seen by the board at that time.
Sounds good.
Yep, that works.
All right, I have that in as a
He's
suggested
on.
update.
Could I ask a question? On page 10, It says the school board and superintendent will fully effectuate this policy by March 1st, 2026. I was wondering if we were intending the policy to be retroactive after we adopt it, or if we need to change that date.
Can we
It's
stay
on
where we
page-
are at the moment and adjust that when we get to it? Okay, thank you.
We already went past that page, so I just wanted to make
No,
sure we got to it.
We're still on page 7.
She's
Oh,
on
we're-
page 10.
I know, she
Oh,
went
of
to
the
10,
newer
yes.
document.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so do we want to move and take a look at the next section?
Yes.
Is everyone ready? Thank you. Move forward, please.
Can you call the title of that section?
I will. So the next section that follows would be the superintendent evaluation section. And I'm going to pause here because I know that there are oftentimes that superintendent evaluation discussion is something that occurs in closed, so I don't know what y'all want to discuss on that.
Can you, wow, I'm sorry about this. This is very confusing.
Are we doing superintendent evaluation in closed session?
That's going to be done in closed session per legal advice, is what I was understanding.
That's why I'm pausing to
let's
make sure
skip-
I understand.
Let's
the back.
skip this section.
Okay.
But for clarification, what page and what paragraph are you on?
I'm on old page 15. Superintendent's
What
Page
n-
15, superintendent evaluation.
What new page? So are we going off the old or are we going through the new?
My page
I
is a
think they're
line,
going off of the
so
So basically, we're skipping over all of the superintendent segment,
Yes.
and we are now on page 8, if I'm not mistaken, of the new document.
let me pull up.
Which is officer
Can we
duties.
reference both?
Yeah, I don't have the new document. I have the sections.
Can one of you provide the new page number and the old page number, just so we are?
Old page number, we're going to officer duties, correct?
Correct,
Page- old
18.
Page 18.
Yes.
Okay. Looks like,
New page starts at the bottom of 7.
I have.
The
Yes.
title is 7.
Yes.
And then we're on new page.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
so the,
When they say old page,
I'll just there.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to be crystal clear about where we're at and the verbiage we're looking at from version to version.
Okay, so what we're doing, if you, in the old version that was just printed out, page 15 through 17, we are skipping because that's appropriate for closed session. And we are on the section officer duties, which is page 18 of the document that was just handed out.
And it's page, bottom of 7, 8, top of 8.
Okay, got it.
So if you're taking notes on the old document, you would be on page 18.
Okay, and just a quick reminder, because we do have this color-coded, right? And so what you see in orange is board policy, what you see in red is potentially going to need to be aligned
By
or
policy.
changed so we have those highlighted, because remember that we conducted a review for one of the original documents to have some forward-facing language and some other components. And then there was also a very in-depth legal review by Kara Ballou and her team. And then we worked together to try to make sure that that legal review made sense. So where there was board policy quoted and cited, we wanted that to be really clear. So the vast majority of this section you're going to see as board policy, but there are some things that if we're going to be adding those, like in red, we need to discuss those, and that may require a change in board policy, which is fine. We just need to flag it so that the legal team knows to make those updates.
And that was confusing because your new document took out the color coding, so that's why I definitely wanted to.
Yes, we don't have color
Just
coding
so
in the
you're
new
clear on that,
document.
the new document does not have the.
But our old one
Can I
does.
look at the new, can I just come physically look at this?
Yes, yes, ma'am, by all means. Oh, there she goes.
That's a side by side. This is, yeah, this is new. Y'all got this one? Yesterday.
Yeah, there was one in email yesterday that looks to be the same as the one that we just got in this folder.
Well, this is not the same as the original. Yes. I understand that. I'm just pointing out, and I want it on the record that we were making notations in the color-coded version because it was color-coded.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, so just to clarify.
We want to look at the color-coded version because that is going to be the most up-to-date. It's aligned with what was in review last month, and it's aligned with the document as we left off.
Yes, ma'am.
That color-coded version is what we want to look at.
So the orange
that's
is what
we're
is
calling
currently board policy, and if we see red, it's okay, but we'll just need to update our board policy to reflect that, correct?
Yes, potentially.
Potentially.
If it doesn't miss a line, and I'm going to defer to legal who's here for that purpose, we can walk through that in red. So with that initial officer duty section 18, what are the duties of Conroe ISD Board of Trustee officers? That first introductory section, and again, that's orange, so it is board policy. Do we have any comments on that section, that introductory section?
Is it really necessary for us to have as many officers, like assistant secretaries? I mean, the only reason I'm asking is it means that 2 trustees are just not officers. I mean, it's just kind of repetitious, and so I was just wondering.
No.
As well as second vice president.
So what, Dr. Vinson, what are you used to? And I also.
President, vice president, secretary.
Okay, and then, we do stipulate in here, if for some reason we have the need to replace, we can redo it.
Absolutely. From my current understanding, you have a 2-year tenure with regard to what you do, and then you re-elect officers.
With each election.
Yeah, and by law, you have to go back and annually and, actually vote to keep the officers you have. But by policy and process, you go do that every 2 years.
So we
Okay.
currently do it every 2 years.
And Ms. Ballou and, I'm going to say Doc sent us together. For y'all, I mean, is it customary? I mean, do you normally see that many officers, or is it generally just simpler, like what we were just referring to?
I see simpler, but it's really a local decision in terms of those additional seats as officers. I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
I usually see simpler.
So-
President Odenweiler,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm okay with removing second vice president and assistant secretary.
I
If
am
everyone
as
else
well.
is as well.
I am as well.
I was just asking, so
No,
thank
I
you.
No, I
It's
think
a good
I'm glad you
point.
asked. I had made that note.
So to clarify with that, and what we would do is I would indicate that what y'all are suggesting to look at in a more final draft would be that the second vice president and the assistant secretary is removed. That would also require change in board policy, so we're gonna flag that as a suggestion so that the board policy would need to be aligned and adopted, and then that way we have the procedures and the policy aligned.
Correct.
Well, and then would that be implemented for this next, election cycle, since we already have people in these positions right now?
We will have to do a whole new election change anyway, or vote.
I'm just saying, like,
So yes,
waiting
and then
until
in
November
answer,
to-
in relation to
Yeah.
what Trustee Sumler was just saying a moment ago, in the next date, it'll become effective, whichever date she was referring to. We could evaluate then too, but according to this, it would be the next election cycle.
Okay.
Trustee Dawson, may I speak to that?
Uh-huh.
I think some of that will be in your adoption language when you adopt these, and you specify out, these are adopted tonight with dated material starting.
X date.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think you have to define that in here, nor do I think you have to worry about it. I think you can
Okay.
specify that in the motion to adopt later.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You read that?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Sure.
Okay, so I think we need to move back and, did you want to know where it talks about for officer? I think that's down inside of the elections. Is there
Have we-
anything that you want to comment on the red bullets? Is there anything, I mean, we talked big picture, so before we move to another section, do any of you want to discuss any of the bullets under president, first vice president, secretary?
No.
I'm holding Ms. Horton, Trustee Horton's documents, and she has written notes here.
Okay, would you
So I
like
don't
to?
know what your pleasure is on that, but her written, would you like me to present what Trustee Horton has in her written notes?
Please.
Sure.
Under third bullet, the red one, under President approves all Conroe ISD trustees' agendas, there's language that she has written in that says aligning with the superintendent. The President approves all Conroe ISD pieces. Don't know if that's necessary, just telling you what she has on the page.
Go ahead.
And then that's the first one she has comments on. She has struck through, appoints Conroe ISD Board of Trustees to committees created by the Conroe Board of Trustees. That is struck out on hers. And then her final bullet, the president can speak on behalf. She added the word can in the front end of that with board approval. So those are her notes.
Can you read the second note that she has?
Yes, may I show them? Sure. Now, I'll just take a look.
Thank you.
And then
And
that way there's-
as far
this
as
is
the
her
first one that she mentioned, actually, the superintendent puts together the agenda, and I'm just approving it based on that, or we do it to, like, kind of simultaneously. So to me, I don't think it's necessary to make that change. Sorry.
That's in here later on.
Yeah, it's
right?
actually in there under
yeah.
his deal.
So I don't think that that's
I
necessary
just
either.
don't think, because really, honestly, Dr. Benson puts it together and then brings it to myself, and then we approve it for Kara.
That's what
for
happens,
approval.
though. Why not just notate it? It's not many more
It is.
words.
It is
It is
notated.
under his duties, and we just didn't discuss it because
We
we
haven't
skipped
gotten to
over
Please
it.
align it under the president duties, and it'll just align with his as well. It might make more sense.
But her duty is not to create the agenda, it's just to approve it.
And said, well,
That's what
her,
that says.
trustee Horton said, and aligning with the superintendent, so.
I don't think it's necessary.
So how do we want to read?
So can you make a suggestion on how you want that to?
I just think it's just stating that a president has to approve the agenda. Someone has to approve the agenda for posting. So that's all it's stating, is that they approve the agenda.
It's clear under the superintendent's responsibilities that he prepares the agenda.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I say leave it as is.
yeah.
All right, so moving on to the next part. The next one was to strike through appoints committee chair or committee members. And that actually is a board duty because of the fact that someone has to decide who's going to be on each of the financial committee and in the safety committee. So,
Could we strike through created by the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees, because those committees are already formed?
Yeah.
yes, but does it say created by the Conroe?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think that it's probably specifying that, so because there are numerous committees that are appointed and created for school districts that are administratively created, and so I think it's just specifying that those committee, we can reword it to where it's more clean or clear.
Are those in alignment with state education code, that those specific committees?
No, I mean, the thing is that I've had tons of different kinds of committees. One time, we had a marketing committee at one point in time. We had a real estate, a deal where we, it just, based on the need, when we did annual goals, we'd say, we need to focus on this at this particular moment in time. And so that we would just do that and have that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I have, traditionally kind of brought stuff to everybody, but in the situation like finance and things like that, it's really your pleasure.
But at this point, it does state that that the committees would be created by the trustees. All I would be doing is, or the president would be doing, is appointing who would be on those committees.
Absolutely, and that's the pleasure of the president.
Okay, but so, I mean,
So leave it?
I'm fine with
I'm
it.
fine with it. I'm fine with it.
But if you don't,
In traditional terms, when I would do this by my process that I've had, when the new board president would come in, I would actually say, okay, we need to fill these roles. Do we want to keep them static? What is your pleasure as far as those kind of things goes? And traditionally, they would say, oh, I know somebody wanted to be really interested in this or doing that, or they have a really gift in this situation or area. So, that's my experience.
And the last request by trustee Horton, where it says can speak on behalf with board approval, I don't feel that is actually a reasonable change, because there are many times we have to make a decision and we won't be together as a board for a comment or something to be made, and or the president would work with the executive communications director to come out with a statement, and we can't call a special meeting and wait 5 days and make a posting to get a response.
I agree on that.
And so that's the only reason why I call that one into, that it's not a.
That's the purpose of it.
As a
being
part of
assigned to the
emergency
president.
operations planning and the like, Kara, in that process, that there really isn't a legal standard for it. It's just the notion of what's protocol.
I mean, I put this language in here because when I've worked with boards before, you need a clear spokesperson.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it, it becomes very confusing who has the authorization to speak on behalf of the board, and that duty normally belongs to the board president.
Well, and that is understandable, but more importantly for me, if we were to wait on a board approval, you have to call a special meeting. It has to be 5 working days prior. You have to post an agenda. You have to call the meeting in, and to me, it's just not a realistic.
I think we're on the same page.
I don't
Yeah,
think
I
she
think we
was
should leave it
looking
as
to have
Let's move
a
on.
meeting. I think it was more just making sure that it represents what the entire board.
But you
So it
can,
could also state operates as spokesperson for the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees, which is, I mean, it seems like it's slicing it one way or slicing it the other, but there is also another section that when it's talking about communications that discusses the board president as the spokesperson, which is a very typical practice. Now, the reason these are in red is just that they are not included in writing in board policy, so it would need alignment, so it's marked boldly for alignment, but that can be adjusted. And you will find the other sections, that are talking about communication also mention spokesperson as board president. So we can align that language and say operates as spokesperson for the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees, or we can leave it as speaks on behalf of Conroe ISD Board of Trustees, whichever y'all
I
prefer.
think they mean the same thing.
I think just leave it the way it
Yeah,
is.
I think it's fine the way it is.
Okay.
Okay. All right, anything on first vice president?
No, I didn't
And
have
if
anything.
we are gonna strike through second vice president, I would also recommend then just listing that as vice president instead of first. vice
Yes.
president.
Yes.
So I'm gonna make that adjustment. Okay, anything on secretary?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So that moves us into officer elections. And this is a great opportunity in this section. But again, we're color coded. Green is largely what was developed initially with the draft of the procedures that we received. It's just, for lack of better words, local language. It doesn't run afoul of board policy, but it also doesn't hold the weight of board policy or law. So in orange, you see board policy. In green, you see what would be local and can be easily adjusted without additional steps. Okay, officer elections. Do we have anything in the first 3 bullets? That's board policy. I'm gonna start with that.
I had one on the second bullet. Officers will serve for a term of 2 years, or until a successor is elected. Can we make that more specific and say, unless a vacancy is open? Because I'm not sure what until a successor is elected, I'm not sure.
I thought I
what
saw that
means.
in
Well,
here.
the one above that says a vacancy it addresses a vacancy.
Because we have a vacancy in the first bullet, so I just think it aligns better, but I'll leave it to you.
I see what you're saying.
So what would your proposed, say it again, please?
So we would cut until a successor is elected and put, unless a vacancy is open or something along those lines. Go ahead.
Trustee Dawson, are you open to just cutting out after or, just?
Yeah,
officers will
I'm
serve?
fine with
Yes,
that too.
that's good too.
Yeah, I'm fine with
And
that.
then you'll do with it when it happens.
Yes.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
orange is direct from policy, so that's also gonna be another policy change if we make that change. I just wanna make sure and remind everybody of
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your recommendation is officers will serve for a term of 2 years?
Well,
Period.
Trustee Dawson, I just
Yes.
offered that as a thought possibility.
I thought that as well.
It's very simple,
Yeah.
yes.
And so I'm just making sure that you just strike the or until a successor is elected?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
So
you're,
that, you wanna
Because
recommend that be
the
struck?
first take
Okay.
gets it at
For
that.
vacancy.
Because the vacancy will
Mhm.
be filled by majority action
Mhm.
before.
Yeah.
I concur, it's simple.
Two-year term, that's it.
Okay. Do you have any concerns with that? Okay. Just double checking. We have it right here, so we're gonna check and make sure,
Yeah.
especially if it's a
Stamp
board
of
policy
approval.
adjustment. Okay, officers may succeed themselves in office. Okay, so those are all of the board policy bullets. Let's go 3 by 3. The next 3 bullets.
I don't have anything with 1. Does anyone have anything with 1? That one, the first green bullet? Okay, then I do have something with the second green
Okay.
bullet because it's actually, the last 2 election cycles, no, actually, the last election cycle, we ended up with our board sworn in before the November meeting. So, I don't know the wording that we need to make that change because it says will be held at the regularly scheduled December meeting, but we actually had, we would have had.
Say it's the first scheduled meeting
After the election.
cycle?
That, yes.
Okay.
That, because we would have had a board with no president or officers.
Agreed.
Say November, right?
Well,
I
it
was
may
just saying
not
next
always
scheduled
fall
meeting.
that way, but it did for us and it did for you,
The
so.
election of the eligible Conroe ISD Board of Trustees officers will be held at the first regularly scheduled meeting thereafter or post-election.
That works.
That's good.
And so that you know, trustees, trustee Horton weighed in on this as well, and that was the recommendation that the words in the election would be installed.
Yeah. I had one on the bullet after that. We have extraordinary circumstance. Can we define maybe what that means?
Death?
Well, that's true, but that
I
would be
think
a
that's what-
vacancy.
Sometimes what would happen, I've had a board member move before, then a situation where they had to go, where they had to, that a circumstance where, they had to take care of an elderly person or, there's different kind of, it's just,
Oh, they could have served but not taken officer's position.
yeah.
And that would still be, it would
Yeah.
be a vacancy, but it wouldn't be a,
yeah.
so
Well,
that
you
would
can
make
vacate.
sense.
You can vacate for any reason.
And I'm gonna jump.
Extraordinary circumstances, pretty self-explanatory. It just is a circumstance that isn't ordinary.
I'm going to jump to the new version. Don't think I see it in the previous version that we were working on, but the second bullet on page 8 at the bottom of your new version says any board member may be considered for the offices of president or.
I think that's an incorrect version. I
Just
think
don't look
that
at
that
that
is
one.
not.
Yeah, don't
that's-
look at
I
that
think
one
is-
anymore.
I think that
Happy-
is.
happy to not.
I think
Happy
that
to
is
not.
not a copy that should have circulated, and this is where we left off, because the color-coded version is post my review and
I have no
Ms.
idea.
Belu's review.
Okay, I
So
just
I
hated
Dr.
to
Vinson, would
disregard
that
it
be-
because you
I
put so
would-
much
I
work
think-
into it,
yes,
but I will
dis-
disregard.
Yes, I would disregard that and move only from
Okay.
the color-coded version.
We are
because
there now.
that- I agree with you, that language is, from what I can tell, it's prior to even when the review happened in February.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Is there a
Be
question?
recognized- I'm going to be recognized by the chair.
Oh, so sorry.
Trustee Semler, please if I said it wrong, correct me.
That's right.
Made a statement a second ago, and I did not hear what you said.
Oh, I just said extraordinary circumstance. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were asking for a definition of that. so
No,
I
no.
wanted to-
Mm-mm.
okay.
Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have that it's relatively self-explanatory. I have a suggestion to maybe clarify we can add a parenthetical to give examples. You can further define that. You can leave it and make that determination later as a group. That's not easy to do in the moment. So it's really,
I'm concerned if you put examples, you're going to lock us into
Correct.
specific examples.
it will.
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
will.
I'll just mention, I've experienced or heard of where boards have been convicted of felonies. There's just a variety of things that people want to resign from office because they don't have the time to do it.
What if certain people just don't like certain people being officers? Is that an extraordinary
No, that would
measure?
not be an extraordinary circumstance. So it has to be like something different than just you don't like your current slate of officers.
Okay, then I'm fine with it.
Okay, thank you, trustee Dawson. I had nothing else on that page. Anyone else have something on that page?
I'd like to approach and show you. This is Trustee Horton's.
Approach the bench, sir.
I was going to say that, but I'm on bench late. Striking of that bullet altogether about selecting of officers in executive session. She has struck that. I'll let y'all.
Is there a reason?
You see it?
Is there a reason given?
No, ma'am.
Is there a reason legally we couldn't do that?
I'm sorry, I'm
Sorry,
not
I
sure what
don't
he's
see which
referring
bullet it
to.
is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you was reading, but.
Which one is it?
Hold on, I'll get him to come back.
On to the fourth,
Okay.
the fourth green bullet. under officer election.
Yeah, if you want to strike it, you can.
I'm good with it.
I'm good with keeping it?
Keeping it.
I am too.
Okay, that's 2, keep.
That, it says
3,
may
keep,
deliberate. We would
4,
have to still
keep.
publicly come
Right.
out and
Yeah.
make the vote out and open, so I'm good with keeping it.
1, 2, 3, 4, okay, keep.
Okay, so we're gonna, it sounds like the final recommendation is the board may deliberate selection of board officers in closed session, is that language keep in there. And may is that you're not required to, but you may.
Right.
And so it provides that flexibility for what you decide. So, it's not really roping you in either way, but it's allowing you the opportunity to choose open or closed, or entertain that motion at that time.
And Ms. Ballou, just for clarification, is that allowed by law?
Yeah.
I wouldn't anticipate it would be in here if it wasn't, but want to be sure.
All right, the election process will be conducted as follows. So this is, there's 4 sub-bullets, anything on that last section that we need to go through.
Yeah, ma'am, not for me.
Sorry, the calendar.
The election process will be
sorry.
conducted
Through
as
the
follows.
19th.
We're almost to the
No,
calendar.
we're good.
Okay,
We're good.
all right, we're ready to move to the next section?
Yes,
I just
ma'am.
want to say I like this section. I don't know whose thought process that
It was
was.
good, it was really fully mine.
I'm going to say Dr. Vincent.
And I helped him.
I like having a calendar. I
I'm
like
teasing.
having, this is what is on the horizon for us for planning purposes.
One of the things that I've always take practice of, and we're still getting the process of getting our goal, guys, we've not been here very long, of getting the notion down of a calendar of what you're going to be able to review. So it's a good thing. But I didn't create it.
I liked it too.
I don't know. I just
So
liked
I'm
it.
gonna give Ms. Ballou credit here, because you recall that we received a version of the document, and we did not want to make substantive changes because there had been a lot of work and we wanted to be sure that was honored. So, but I'm gonna give that credit where it's due. I think this is heavily written in by Ms. Ballou, so.
Thank you.
Yes.
you.
Do we have anything that we want to go over within this section, or are we good on the annual trustee calendar? It's a short section.
I think we're good to move forward.
Everybody good? I'm trying to make eye contact with
For
everybody.
the
Okay.
record, no changes on trustee Horton's document.
Thank you.
Oh, perfect, thank you. Okay, so that brings us to our next section, and then the updated, new color-coded version, not the, the trustee training, and that should be on page 21 of the document we're all looking at. Okay, so, we have, blue was the law? Yes. Blue is the law in our color
The
coding.
final
Yes.
verbiage and cannot be
Blue is
changed.
final
Texas
verbiage,
law.
yes.
Blue is-
Okay, so Texas law, and I know we have more color coding. I have to keep it right here, and I even drafted. Okay, so again, reminder, anything in green can easily be shifted if needed, but we do need to maintain, the section in blue, in whole, if we're going to keep that language in here. But it is also the law already, and so I think it's a wise addition for us to keep in. All right, any question, or any, on the first paragraph, any comments there?
What is local training? Oh, sorry, this is the second paragraph.
Okay, you ready to move to the second paragraph? The following guidelines will apply to training, and then we have several bullets. Bullet 1, anything we need to look at in bullet 1?
I was just wondering what we consider local training. 'Cause it says that training is local.
Traditionally, when you're talking about local training, it's when we'll bring somebody in like this. Corporate training is when you're going to go to a conference, if you're going to go to an event or whatever that might be. And so those are the 2 different types of training. All of them have sort of the same certification process. Like I'm actually a trainer for TEA as far as, like they are. So, but anyway, but you can do that locally or you can go somewhere.
And the language doesn't limit you from having those conference or the non-local, or the non-in-house, because it says to the extent practicable, right? And there's just gonna be some training that you may have to gain elsewhere, at times, or it's more economical, for example, or something like that. So I don't think it, as written, it locks you into either, but it's just saying that's the preference if practicable.
Okay, because I know multiple trustees have been wanting to go to different conferences for training, so would that rule that out, or would that mean people can't go to the conferences? Or?
I mean, that's a great question. I would say that it's written to where that can be considered. I don't think that it's a hard no on if it's not a local training.
My request would be this, is that if you're going to request to go to training, is to make the request to the board president and the superintendent, because the superintendent for me, because you don't want me making your travel plans, but Portia will need to. So we'll, through that process, we'll make that happen.
And so one of the things that we could add is either a sub-bullet or an additional
That would be
component to
good.
that section that clarifies if this is not going to be a locally provided training or arranged training.
That would be
should-
valuable. That was one of the things that was wanted to
Okay.
be covered while we were here. So that would be good. Be very, very practical and make sure that everybody's knowledgeable about it.
What about the online trainings that are available, like where you can do your online trainings for, I mean, like Toma is an example where we have to watch an online training. Would that count, or would we have to do a local board?
No, I think that there's compliance training, like, all of the things, cybersecurity and all those kind of things. Those are just standard as far as having to get them. And when they're done by the service centers or those kind of things, that's where we typically have done those.
I just don't want to suffer through training and find out that it doesn't count.
I would not want you to go through cybersecurity training and have it not count. I'm with you.
Thank
I
you.
am
Thank you.
definitely with you on that.
Do you want language added in here that allows more for conference attendance?
I mean, do you want to broaden that
Do you
language?
want to broaden it out so it's more clear that you can attend
I
conferences?
think maybe we should work on this sentence in general too, because I wanted to add in that the training aligns with board values. It's important to me. So I don't know if we can maybe just, add in another sentence that kind of gets at conferences, non-local training as well as.
Okay, to the extent practicable, the president and superintendent will collaborate to practicable, okay. Will collaborate to ensure Conroe ISD Board of Trustees training is tailored to support the Conroe ISD. I mean, we could just take out the word
Yes.
local.
Oh,
And
sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, we could take out the word local and tailored to support the strategic goals and values. Is that what you were getting at, Trustee Dawson, by adding those two words?
Yeah, I mean, we can say it like that, or we can,
I mean, because I don't know if it needs another sentence, if we can manipulate those words into there and,
could we just say, ensure Conroe ISD Board of Trustees training aligns with board values, comma, is local to the extent possible, comma, and tailored to support, and the rest of that as is.
that works too.
Yeah, who's mandating that we have the training?
The
Will there say
the Texas Education Code is going to comply that you have those trainings. And actually, I can put that in your brief this week about what the compliance trainings are. I know that Trustee Gambino is going through the gauntlet right now of all the new stuff. But you're required, I think, 10 hours of regular training a year. Some of that's going to be team building, and then another one's going to be your compliance training, cybersecurity and those kind of things. And the rest of it's going to just be general training.
So should we add more stipulations to the training, or should we just let people get the training required by? It just seems like we're adding a lot of extra things to the training, and it's going to make it more difficult to obtain, and we really do need to make sure.
I'll
that
say
our hours-
this, that if you have to do that oftentimes that the agency or somebody, new law will come in, and you have to go add a new training, and then you have to add it to board policy. The more general, sometimes the better it is as far as that stuff goes. But Trustee Gambino, I'm sorry.
Well, I would say that probably outside of the SOP, there does need to be a defined trustee learning plan that has everything identified that is required by law from a compliance, whatever the regulations say that we have to have, with the frequency of completion. So that should be something separate. If it already
Yeah.
exists, perfect.
I think you guys could add those as superintendent duty that you want him, we've already been discussing this as we speak, a superintendent duty to keep
I think it's already in under that segment,
You could just
because
add
I
the
read it.
link to
It's similar to the checklist I
code.
gave you as far as all those
Right.
things that how many trainings and all that stuff you had to get.
Yeah. But I
And it's
agree
good.
with you. I don't think we need to, I'm not one for replicating things in multiple places, because then you have to remember to update them. I don't think you need it here, but as long as it's stated somewhere that the superintendent is keeping up with it, and we have the separate training for trustees listed, I think we're fine. I don't think it needs to be
I
in
would
here.
suggest you guys include it here as a superintendent duty, just because then it's it's a duty of his that he knows is.
And add it in here.
I'm just gonna mention, I'm the one that put some parameters around the, training, and the reason that I did that, and I'm very, obviously, you're the board and can do what you want. The reason why I do that is because I find that a lot of times, board members, when they're getting training, especially new board members, or even as you progress, it can be a little unfocused. And so trainers don't know what to focus on, and you're not really thinking through what are the priorities for the district. So I always like to encourage the board to consider at least saying that training has to include the board goals, the superintendent strategic plan, the calendar, these operating procedures. So that's why that is that way, is to direct some of that intensity and action in the direction that helps boards most with their duties.
Well, and I would say, as we were talking about whether it should be local or outside of that, if anything that we're attending should, if we're gonna go to said conference, then said conference we should identify what we are going to be learning in that conference and align it, and align it here. And so that's what should be brought back.
So the bigger question is, do you want to get rid of the parameters that are here?
I don't particularly.
It's very complicated. Whenever I've had to do training for work, it's like, this is the training you're expected to complete. Check the box, make sure you do your training. And this makes it very difficult.
Well, the difference, though, is, Trustee Semler, is that what we're discussing in the SOP has already been done by your job. And so they're just telling you at that point, this is what you need to do, because they've already done that due diligence on the backside. So what this is doing is very similar to any HR, in any organization, is they're saying, these are the requirements that we will require training for our employees, and or if we send them to conferences, it's all the stipulations. So you're right, what's easy is that list that Dr. Vincent is putting together. This is just saying what the requirements are in order to take that training. Is
But is it
that
limited
correct?
to that?
I mean, if you look at the TEA's training requirements, there's several hours that are undefined per year that you have to get. So it's not, there's trainings you have to get. You have to get school safety, human trafficking,
Right.
Open Meetings Act, all these kinds of trainings. But then there's outside of that, there's a lot of hours you can get that are just open to your discretion. And what really this is aimed at is, with your discretionary hours, let's focus them on the highest impact types of training.
Yes, I agree.
If that makes any sense.
I agree.
Yeah,
I mean,
on-
it should be
under the-
strategic.
On
Yeah,
the
I like
TEA
it.
website, there's a list of school board training requirements, and then they have a list of eligible providers linked next to it. I think we should just be able to click on one of the eligible providers and do our training. Just keep it simple.
Well, the list of eligible providers is not necessarily trainings per se, it's who holds the credential to deliver the trainings.
Okay.
So like if you just click a name on there, you may or may not have trainings associated with them. It's gonna be those people that are gonna wanna charge you to come to their trainings.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's complicated.
And the one thing that I will say is, I have sat through our original board training. I've sat through their board training that TEA came and did, and then now I'm sitting through training you're doing for Trustee Gambino. And I'm telling you, you pick up on different things at all of them. So I mean, I'm glad that I'm taking advantage of getting those right here. But it may not always work that way, so I like being able to have options.
So are we saying we want to leave it the way it is? So that
There is an edit on the table, but I don't think it cut out those things.
So I put a couple of, I mean, we can leave that. I'm listening and putting in a couple of more specific bulleted edits as you're discussing, just so that we can consider the language. But if we're fine leaving it, we'll move forward. If you want to hear what I've typed, we can chew on it a little bit. Because I feel like I heard something to the effect of, the superintendent will maintain an annual Board of Trustees training list and log to ensure that training offered aligns to the mandated training for Texas Boards of Trustees.
Mhm.
So I have, yeah, it's just, again,
I like
it's-
that.
I'm typing as I'm listening. And then another sub-bullet that says, for individually desired trustee training, trustees will submit requested training attendance to the board president and the superintendent. Now that's, I don't feel like that might be plenty, it might not be quite finished out, but I think that captures what we
That's
were,
the essence of it.
what we were
Yeah.
trying to ensure. So if you're wanting to go do the training, that you submit it to the so that way it'll help with that, maintain that log and manage that, yes, it's moving forward with.
Is that for approval, or they're just?
We need to talk through that. I put it very basic so that there could be some more discussion on how that language needs to look and feel.
Well, I think if it did require approval, it would be based on if the training was pertinent to the trustee goals, strategic plan, or the superintendent's. Is that, no? Could this just be in
I just
general?
want to make sure it's clear if the president and the superintendent have to approve the training or not, or if it's just FYI.
I think we should have to make the case of how it aligns with our goals and strategic plan if we're gonna be using district resources, taxpayer money. I think
I
we should
agree.
have to make the case for
So
why
would
it's
it-
pertinent.
So then what I'm hearing you say, trustee Dawson, unless I'm missing the mark here, is the first two bullets that Ms. Duncan has put into play, this and this. And then when training is approved, it is considered from topics like this. in a bullet
Could you
list.
read those two
Does
again?
that make sense? So you're not locked, but you can see the choices of where maybe you want to flow your training.
And this is beyond the compliance training, right, that we have to have?
Yes, compliant, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
This is supplemental
So
training.
This is supplemental.
The following guidelines will apply to training. And I'm gonna read this because there's been a slight adjustment y'all requested in that section too. To the extent practicable, the president and superintendent will collaborate to ensure Conroe ISD Board of Trustees training aligns with board values, is local to the extent possible, and is tailored to support the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees in adopting, monitoring, communicating, and evaluating Conroe ISD Board of Trustees goals, the strategic plan, and the superintendent's evaluation.
Could you note that that's the supplemental training, since we were saying it's the supplemental training, not all training? Because I want to make sure that everyone has an easy time getting what's legally required training. However they can, but the supplemental training, I think it makes sense.
That's actually fair, because the thing
Yeah.
is your compliance and the rest of it's.
That's required, yeah.
Okay, so
yeah,
in
makes
that very
sense.
first bullet, you would suggest putting supplemental training?
I think,
involved
yeah,
in
right
that?
before you, there was one, like the first sentence where you said training.
Yes,
put
training
supplemental
aligns, so we would
before.
just say supplemental training aligns?
Yes, please.
But
Okay.
what if a trustee wants to do something that's not supplemental? Would it be going through the superintendent as well?
So I have two sub-bullets.
Okay,
under
that's
here.
fine, we'll stop right there,
Yeah,
that's
so I
fine.
have two sub-bullets under here, and what's up for consideration from Ms. Baloo is to determine whether or not we need that to be approval, because right now the language doesn't quite say that. So right after that first bullet that we just read, so now we've stated that to ensure the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees supplemental training aligns with board values and so on for the rest of that paragraph that we've altered. Okay, then I have two sub-bullets that are up for discussion or that have been discussed as we've walked through this. The first one is the superintendent will maintain an annual Board of Trustees training list and log to ensure that training offered aligns to the mandated training for Texas Boards of Trustees. It's a mouthful.
One more time, please.
Do you have any other wordsmithing suggestions on that one? The superintendent will maintain an annual Board of Trustees training list and log to ensure that training offered aligns to the mandated training for Texas Boards of Trustees.
I think it should just be not just he'll keep a list, he will keep the mandated, whatever you just said, that piece. So he has that, it's whatever is mandated for us, it's not just a list that he has created, it's whatever is legally required, whatever that title we want to give it, and then, of course, the log, and then I don't think you need the end part.
So you like maybe the superintendent will maintain an annual Board of Trustees mandated training list. Okay, so that.
Training
And
curriculum,
ensure we're in compliance.
training curriculum.
You want compliance?
I'm accustomed to that, guys. You know, in future
It's-
form, we will do that.
It's not, is it all, I don't know if we can say compliance, is it all compliance-related topics? Or,
I think she means in compliance with what's required, not necessarily.
well, I mean, I think that's where we have to use the language, carefully. Is
Yeah.
it like legally compliant content? Is it based on the Texas Education Code? If it's a combination, then we can't just say compliance.
Well, it's all mandatory.
So then just mandatory, yeah.
Yeah, mandatory.
Whether it's
mandated.
supplemental or not, we're mandated to have so much
You're
training.
mandated to have a certain number of training hours. Some of that's required in certain subjects, and some of it's open to.
So just
discretion.
mandated.
That's
fine.
good.
Mandated
Okay,
curriculum.
good.
Okay.
Training.
So the superintendent will maintain an annual Board of Trustees mandated training list and trustee attendance log to ensure that training offered aligns to the mandated training for Texas Boards of Trustees.
Sounds good.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And then the second sub-bullet we have that we need to finish out or consider is for individually desired trustee training, trustees will submit requested training attendance to the board president and the superintendent. What's been put out there is whether or not it should say for approval. So they will submit requested training attendance for approval. And maybe the supplemental word there would be important as well. For individually desired supplemental trustee training. I mean, some of it, like we've said, there are local choice. It's still mandated because it's the number of total hours and it needs to be done. So there's kind of this both and that's a little squirrely there.
The supplemental is outside. So let's define this. When we say supplemental training, this is me, Trustee Gambino. I want to go to this conference because I believe it'll help my education, but it's not part of my mandated training, which is certain hours that are defined, certain topics, and then there's that other area. Is that correct?
So if you, I don't know I can't recall the exact number of hours. I don't know if you can.
So let's
but
pretend it's
if there were
20 hours.
required hours.
Right.
And 16 of them were all mandated and you have 4 flex hours. You still have to get the 4 hours to meet the mandated requirement of hours. You just have choice in the learning. Do you see what I mean?
Right, so are we
Right.
saying, that's what I want to define. Are we saying that 4 hours is what we're calling supplemental? Is that, yes? Okay.
So do you like the sub-bullets? You feel that they're
Read
necessary?
that, could you read the second one again, please?
For individually desired trustee training, trustees will submit requested training attendance to the board president and the superintendent.
But is that for approval?
Right, so do we add for approval in there?
Should approval come to the whole board?
I don't necessarily want to go down that path.
My only reason for that is if someone finds out, if we put it to the whole board, if, let's say, Trustee May learns of something that is going to happen at the last minute, she finds out about it and she wants to attend it, and she's contacts Dr. Vinson and whoever's the board president. I don't want her to miss something because we don't have a board meeting to have a vote on it.
I go back on my previous statement. I think they should just submit it to the superintendent and the board president, period.
Just submit it?
Not
So
for
it's just an
approval.
FYI.
That just gets dicey with the approval, I think.
I'm gonna weigh in if that's okay, and I'm gonna give you a couple of examples, okay? Every teaching profession you can think of has an association. There's a CTE association, an athletic association, a fine arts association. There's all these conferences. So you may find a conference, CTE's presenting, they may have a board member track. And in that board member track, they may be talking about just 3 hours of X, Y, and Z that you really want to be passionate about. But the investment into that, to get into that conference, is $3,000.
Right.
So does that support the goal of the board collectively for you to go take a 4-hour workshop at a CTE class versus, and I've got feelings, we've all got TASB, TASBO, whatever. I'm just throwing it out. You pay that fee and you have 3 days of opportunities, and you can do your pick and choose menu of what you want from the workshop, and you can do your mandated menus. That's a conference that I think you might say, yeah, that makes sense because I can get all these pieces here and this extra here. Now go back to the CTE conference, for that same or very similar amount of money, I only get this. I get 3 hours that are beneficial. So I think that I'm just gonna give you my opinion, I think it's important that you have some version of an approval path there. I really do believe that. Now,
Even
you're
if
the
that
board.
path doesn't require board approval.
I agree with Trustee Dawson. I'm not sure you need to be in that. I think you have an elected representative and you have an appointed superintendent, and I think I would hand them the charge of determining that path.
I think there's also a limited budget with these, and so then
Correct.
it has to also be uniformly delineated, and so you might have a conference that's, you know, got a large amount of travel attached to it, et cetera, so we have to be cognizant of the budget alignment there, and we have to be able to track those district expenses, right? And so, that's another piece of that
Yes.
to me, that I would just like for us to consider, for y'all to think about.
It's
as we-
basically the bang for the buck. Are we getting the bang for the buck?
And do we have the buck?
And do we have the bucks?
And how do we divide the training
And
buck?
if someone doesn't seek the approval to attend, there's not the knowledge of if the finances are there, right?
I would assume that that's accurate, that approval has to come from the district for reimbursement. There's an approval path somewhere.
I mean, I agree. I think there needs to be some type of approval path. Maybe it doesn't need to come to everybody, but there, you know, it is a checks and balances type thing. And on top of that, kind of to your example, you know, at the end of the day, when you go to a conference, and I speak, you know, professionally, you know, working in this area, if someone is bringing something and they want to go to a conference, it has to be bringing value back to the organization. And so, you know, if I'm going to select something, obviously I believe that I'm choosing something that would bring value. Nonetheless, I don't think there should be a problem with me bringing it to someone that has to approve it. That's customary.
It is.
It's SOP of any company, too.
Yes, it is customary. And then, of course, there's the budgetary aspect of it as well.
That's my
So
main
the question is,
concern.
who do we want it to be? Board president, superintendent?
I'd be fine with the two of you doing it, Dr. Benson and the president of the board.
That's how it's always been with me in the past.
I think so.
Shared.
I mean, the thing is we have to use good judgment as far as that stuff goes, and that's where, you know, where it is, and there's a certain amount that implied.
So what I've adjusted based on this language is, based on this most recent discussion, is for individually desired supplemental training, trustees will submit requested training attendance for approval to the board president and the superintendent.
Great.
Okay.
Just legally, I have a little bit of a problem with the superintendent approving it, because the superintendent's your employee.
Yeah.
I was going to say, can we, maybe
You're my
the board
boss.
approves
Maybe
a
the president
review?
I mean, maybe the superintendent can provide budgetary
Mm-hmm.
recommendation and the president approves.
I'm the travel agent.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing that it is that.
You read my mind. I was going to say that.
I do, because we aren't theoretically supposed to go directly to the employee and ask for that information. We're supposed to go through the superintendent. So the budgetary part of it, I could see, I know we're really bad about this. It happens all the time where we pick up the keyboard or the phone and we ask that person, the staff member, but really, if we're putting something together, it should be in writing that he's included, or the superintendent in general, is, you know, to give the budgetary. I understand the employee aspect of it, but I think we need to know the budgetary through him.
So what would you, from that legal perspective, what would you recommend shifting at the end of that sentence so that there's knowledge by the superintendent to
I
do
would just say
that?
the superintendent they'll notify the president and the superintendent will provide budget advice, but the president approves. If you don't have that exact language, we can work on it as long as you capture it generally.
Just a question, I don't know if it needs to be in there. Is this a formal request, like you have to fill out a form? Is that something we just have to figure out?
You could say.
I love a good form.
I can create a form.
The
I'll make a Google Doc.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
superintendent will create.
so we have a paper
form.
trail.
We're in the process of doing so many, so it's a good thing for us
Yeah.
to just have them all in one place.
Perfect.
And I don't know that it needs to be in this document that we
No,
say that,
but we'll have it, yeah. Agreed.
I currently don't have a tracking tool that I get to use, and so this might serve as a tracking tool for us anyway, so that'd
Yes,
be
I
good.
think so. I did have one question that I wrote on the wrong one that was sent. I don't know that it falls in the SOP, maybe it's policy, but just questions about training expenditure limits, daily per diems.
It's really hard because sometimes there's things that are more expensive and there's not. I've tried to put standards on these. It's just good judgment as far as that stuff goes. I mean, I've put the parameters on things that then it caused the situation where I couldn't do it. It's just super hard. I wish I had a parameter on it.
You do, however, have a budget that you adopt for yourselves as a board. And so that's why I think that if you're asking the superintendent for consultation about what's happening with your budget, another thing that we have talked about is that each trustee is given an individual budget for training. Sometimes that doesn't work so well because trustees attend conferences together. I don't know. So what you have going on right now, I think, is just kind of a block of money that's obviously you have to train. It's a state requirement. And you're all able to access that money, but now you're putting parameters that it has to be aligned with board values, approved by the president, some safeguards to the use of that money.
Okay, so I added a third sub-bullet that states trustee requests to attend supplemental training will be submitted via a superintendent-created form. And then it's going to encompass a lot of what you just said. In my opinion, it checks those boxes, and then there's the budgetary component, and then that form can then be provided for final approval by the board president. So that's how that would flow, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay, so we have 3 sub-bullets there, and we've gone through those. I don't want to belabor, but I also want to. Okay.
Move on.
All right.
Some and everything else is going away. All this.
So the second bullet, the training will prioritize. Training will prioritize Conroe ISD Board of Trustees' knowledge and skills around the following topics. We've already aligned them up above. You can keep this and further solidify what's important to you.
I still think we should just stick with what is the statutory requirement. I don't think we need to list extra in our board policies. I think that makes it more complicated, and then if anything changes, we're gonna have to go back and change what's in the policy or procedure. And I think we should strike that part personally.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that based on all of the very detailed amount of work we conducted within that first bullet and those sub-bullets, which I may align, just make them all 4 bullets, that Trustee Simler is stating that it really makes that second bullet and set of sub-bullets superfluous, and we can get rid of that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Any legal perspective you want to provide on that?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Trustee Horton had no written notes on that, so you all
Okay.
aware?
So we're going to delete that?
So that's going to go.
If we identified them, I think we identified them in the general overall up above.
Yeah.
And in trying to be a little bit less verbose, that I'm good with that.
That's
I'm-
fine.
I've got them struck.
Perfect.
Okay, that
Okay.
moves us to board meetings. I want to check with everybody, make sure we're okay to move forward. Does anybody need a break?
Keep going.
Okay. All right, so
This next page, we have all 4 colors.
the next page is very colorful. We have what starts out as an intro in board policy. And then we've got to have some legal discussion around the Open Meetings Act, and that's something that my understanding has been in discussion, so I'm gonna let Ms. Blue discuss that second paragraph with you. And then, yes, then a lot of this is etched out in law, so.
Can we stick to that first paragraph before we move
Yes,
to that?
yes, I just wanted to summarize where we've got
Okay.
a few speakers that need to step up here. So let's start with comments in that first paragraph.
You can continue with your summary. I would just want to
No,
start.
that was it, yes, ma'am.
In paragraph 1, may I approach the bench?
Yes, sir, you may.
Paragraph 1, Trustee Horton has redlined or straight lined that out. I think it's the second sentence about changing the board meeting for convenience.
I don't think we should take that away.
I don't
So
either.
that is listed in board
I'm just
policy.
showing
To
you.
change that would
Yeah.
require board
I
policy
do-
change, which is fine, but I just want to make sure and remind you.
My suggestion on that is it's a really an important essential because like right now, like next year, I'm going to request that we take our board meeting and make it 1 week later than the spring break. That way y'all, I can give y'all more time to get prepared
That
for
brings
different
me
things.
to my next point.
Yeah, because it gives you more flexibility when you might not be thinking about that. And then especially when it comes to Christmas and for, Thanksgiving and those kind of things, that way you can move things around so y'all aren't rushed to get to the next board meeting.
Well, one thing I've noticed, and this is just something over the past 3 years that has really been noticed, is that every third Tuesday typically falls after a holiday. You have
It does.
Thanksgiving or before a so it does affect the ability for staff to get us information if we have questions on it, especially if
Right.
the holiday is a Monday, then you have a board meeting on Tuesday, you didn't receive the information maybe until Friday. So my question to the board and to you, Dr. Vinson, would be, are we set on that third Tuesday of the month being the standard? Just because the third Tuesday, just based on my last 3 years, is always after a
Well,
holiday.
what I would suggest is that when is that going to be the precedence for that? I would just suggest that we go back, take a look at the board calendar for the year and say, okay, that's going to be the day
Maybe
after
some
Turkey Day.
flexibility.
Let's get some opportunity for flexibility. That was my hope and goal for this next year, is that we could be able to do that. Because again, okay, I'm going to give you the example. We're going to have a board meeting on the 17th. I have to get you your board packet on the 3rd, and then because of the new Open Meetings Act stuff, not the 4th. But anyway, at the end of the day, we're going to have a spring break, and then we're going to come right back to it. So then you don't have that week to prepare. So I'm having y'all small group meetings this week. It's just rough.
Well, and in addition, not to be a wah, but the board then ends up spending our holiday weekends and so forth, always having to dive through all this info, so.
It's not very Christmassy.
It's not just not just those.
I'm just teasing,
talking
but yeah,
about
yeah.
in general.
No, I'm just saying that's
And
true.
we do put out, if we're putting out the calendar, so making the change of the third Tuesday isn't quite as critical as making our calendar referenced the year in advance, like we do on our
Yeah,
website.
I
and
totally
changing
get
those
what
dates.
she's talking about,
Yeah,
though,
I think
because it
the
is that way.
standard could be kept. However, there could be, I especially don't agree with the when determined necessary, taking that out, because my point is that I think that
We
we
need it.
come across several instances where a board meeting could be adjusted for convenience.
My other concern is, Dr. Vinson, we've been looking at readjusting our agendas to moving our closed session to the 5 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am.
Time frame, and I don't know the wording here in this policy, but the way it's stated, we technically wouldn't be starting until 6, but we're constantly trying to use time more effectively and wisely. And
Correct.
so,
We would
the
amend
fact
that.
that we put 6, I don't know if it should say at 5 with general business starting approximately at 6 or around 6 or at 6 or what, I don't know.
Well,
but-
the thing is, I've done it a couple of different ways, and there's a little bit of latitude here, I guess. Because, usually when you're doing this, it's so people are going to show up for the open meeting.
Exactly.
And so when they're going to be showing up for that. But I mean, Kara, that would be up to you as far as what I can do legally.
I mean, you can definitely put, your board policy states this, so
Right.
it's just what do you want?
Exactly.
I think that you guys, if you want more flexibility, you could just say, the board even will establish agenda with starting meeting times and remove the Tuesday, remove the 6 o'clock, and just give yourself leeway.
I like that.
One thing I would recommend if you're gonna do that is to try to adopt the calendar of board meetings and.
Which is what
which is
we
what I was
already
talking
do,
about.
yes.
Yeah.
So I think that would make it, again, I just want the public, I hate that when we make changes, and I love that now we're going to try to meet our principals and have conversation with them. Well, we don't need to hold our public sitting here waiting while we're doing that. But we want to start that at 5 because that doesn't affect people trying to get here, and they don't need to be sitting here waiting on us.
Although I will say to take into consideration that we need a minimal standard, just so that the public is aware when our typical meetings are held and that they will begin.
So are we saying that here are we just saying that we don't want to define it as being the third Tuesday at 5. That maybe it should be referencing the annual calendar, the annual.
For posted meetings.
Yeah, so can we reword that and remove that?
I don't think we want to get into the nitty gritty of how the meeting's going to be
Organized.
Organized, yes.
But could we
because
look
I will
at?
say, one thing that's bothersome to me right now is that you guys are starting your board meetings at 5, but it's posted all over your website, and I've actually brought this up to Andrew at 6, and that's what it says in your board policy. So I just want to give you guys as much authority if we adopt a calendar of the meetings in advance. The main point is the public knows when the meetings are.
Maybe we could keep the public portion closer to 6,
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
but not state that here.
That was the idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was exactly, like, we could start with the, at the 5 for our time with meeting the employees and the so on and so forth, and then do the board business starting at 6. Not that that's not board business, but public business at 6.
So just taking off the
Yes.
specific time and date.
Right.
I think that will fix that.
And then we said we'd leave the discretion to change it, leave that in there, right?
Yes.
Yes,
So
okay.
what I have based on the discussion for sample language here is regular meetings of the board shall normally be held monthly based on an annually adopted meeting schedule.
Perfect. Yes.
Correct.
Now, I mean, I like annually because it gives some specificity, but it can also just say adopted meeting schedule.
Well, that's
You
in
wanna
common
say
practice too.
Developed by the superintendent and approved by the board or something like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Fine with me, and that gives
I like
some
that.
responsibility lines that are
Yes.
clear. Okay.
Just going back, we did say that annual calendar would be developed and posted by September 1 annually.
I'm gonna have to get on to that now then. Get me, I'm a little late.
So can we look at doing a different Tuesday? Is that?
Oh, absolutely. The thing, whenever I've developed these before, it seemed like half of the year, to Trustee Duncan's point, we would have it the regular time, and the other time, there's just so much going on, and it falls on a bad time, and my thing is, I want y'all to be prepared for the board meeting, and I want y'all to have the ability to make practical sense out of stuff, so,
So
yeah.
can you come back to us analyzing the different?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's gonna be good.
Thank you.
Expect a calendar soon.
I'm sure we'll have different scenarios and color coding and everything.
Yeah, I'm thinking fuchsia and gold.
If we could move on, I had one other point in this paragraph. First of all, I wanted to understand what a special meeting versus an emergency meeting is.
Tonight was a special meeting, the hearing, and the items with when we had to hire and do our meetings for
Well, I'm should
superintendent.
we define what that is in here or no?
I think it's defined, it might be defined.
I think it's defined in law
defined
anyway.
some-
There's
okay.
there's
It's
an
defined in
emergency.
law.
Well,
It's
I
in board
noticed,
policy.
I noticed in the third paragraph that 3 members of the board have to call an emergency meeting, and I just think we should be consistent with that and have 3 members can call a special meeting.
That makes sense.
I'll have to check and see if that's legal. I'll check.
I think it was like that for the emergency meeting because of the nature of the situation. It is
Could
an
be law.
emergency.
Is that in law?
It
too?
is.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. So
So-
she's checking that, and then we can come back and work on that language, because
Yeah.
it's pretty prescribed.
It's pretty prescribed.
Okay, if that's the case,
Yes.
that's fine.
Okay, so, I heard September 1 and added that to the end of that first sentence that we just rearranged in terms of the meetings. So, just to pick up right there where we left off, regular meetings of the board shall, do y'all like normally or typically? I know it seems.
Typically, no, I don't know.
I do as well, actually, but, okay. Regular meetings of the board shall typically be held monthly based on an annually adopted meeting schedule developed by the superintendent and adopted by the Board of Trustees by September 1 each year.
Yep, sounds
Okay.
good.
And then, I don't have any other changes in that board policy language for the rest of that first paragraph. In red, we have the notice of regular and special meetings, in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, which I don't know what if there's any comment you want to make. This was, you had flagged it because of the updates to Toma. Yeah, we have put that in red because you just wanted to make sure that we had a chance to talk about what that posting
The
looks
key
like.
concern that we were having, that we were trying to address here, I'm not sure if this is right where this is, but is in your board policy right now, it talks about how far in advance of the meeting the board or the superintendent is going to provide you the board packet or information. And now, because of the new TOMA, we have to post essentially 5 days. So we need to figure out how many days in advance of that posting you guys want to see the board materials. Right now, you're receiving the board materials on the date and time of posting, I think generally. So generally, you're getting the agenda and the board packet and the information on the date the agenda is being posted.
I would like to get it beforehand, personally.
So the question becomes how far in advance? And because that also creates, a backward calendar for the superintendent.
What is the requirement for TOMA?
The
How many
TOMA
days?
requirement is 5 days.
Calendar days?
Business days.
Okay.
So usually you guys are gonna post on Wednesday for a Tuesday meeting.
So like Monday, I mean.
The
not-
only issue with that is what is the burden
It is a burden.
from your perspective, so we can lay that out with this?
You know, I would like the opportunity to just talk to my staff about what's reasonable and then set the protocol as far as what we need to get organized for, because I want to make sure it's regular, it's complete and all that information, especially when we have to add something, to the.
Because if we
agenda.
don't finalize for 5 days, 5 days is the legal
Yeah.
requirement, and so up until that point, one observation is that if it's not final and we do receive the information, then we also receive a second wave of information. Or the first wave maybe not is complete, or maybe might not be complete just because of the nature of
And then I
developing
also-
the agenda.
One thing that's happening is he's obviously doing briefings. So you're getting information earlier, I think right now than you would anyway, but yeah.
Right.
We have to change something in your board policy, because right now you would receive your board information after that 5 days. So we just need to figure that out.
I will just state from my perspective of what I watch our staff go through in preparation for board meetings, and it doesn't seem like it would be that big a difference. It used to be that it would go up at 5 o'clock on Friday. And we got our board book at 5 o'clock on Friday. And we managed to back it up and request that we get it at least by Tuesday or Wednesday if possible, from when Dr. Landry was in place and when Dr. Vinson was here. We were trying for the Tuesday or Wednesday. This was before the TOMA change. And I know it's a challenge, because it's not just that they're doing that work to produce for the board meeting, for the board meeting, but they're also doing all their other work at the same time. And so my only concern with, in answer to the draft book, which is what we were really getting, was a draft board book, and then we would get the final board book. I just, if we are going to ask for it on Monday or even Tuesday maybe isn't as big a challenge for them, but Monday is, I think, a real crunch for our staff. I think it's really
I think
putting-
Tuesdays actually, if we could,
I'm just speaking from what I see them, I don't want to say scrambling, but they're doing
well, the thing is that
juggling multiple things.
in
And
traditional terms, we're trying to make sure that you get the most latest and greatest information in timely ways. And so we're always updating different things as far as that stuff goes. And so, we can work on that.
My only consideration would be there's just, identifying the burden, and then that's a great thing to mention, is that we're doing the small groups now too, so we get information early on certain topics. But the package deal, maybe we don't receive it as soon. To Trustee Dawson's point, I don't know if you would be okay with receiving the full package a little later. Just with this 5 day, I feel like that would be sufficient.
So
given that we get
here's
information.
a thought. personally, receiving it on Wednesday, I mean, unless I'm getting it at 8 a.m., right? So that's only 4 business days to be able to, while there's, and I hear what you're saying, I appreciate the fact that everyone's working on it, but there's a lot of people creating it, but there's just like me going through everything that you've given me.
Yes.
500 pages.
Yes.
So, now, so something just as a consideration, I personally would like it earlier, right? It doesn't have to be complete. If there was a way to receive it where it's in a place that we know that you may potentially be adding something to it, or where it's
Absolutely.
real time, where the agenda is set.
we're
but as
actually-
you're updating it, we're seeing real time edits, and so at that point, and as long as it's clear what version it is, or so there would have to be some mechanics to make that work. But like, I would be fine if I saw the agenda and I'm like, oh, here's version 1. Oh, look, there's a version 2. It would just have to be some clear communication and guidelines.
Usually
but-
it says draft, so that helps.
well, I'm just
Yeah, I
saying,
feel
like,
like
so
they
instead
kind
of
of
getting
already do
that
that.
final PDF document, if you're needing to make updates during that week, me personally, I would be fine with it as long as I knew where to go to get it, or if I needed to see it real time, if that made it easier. But
No, I mean,
nonetheless, I'd
That's
still like to
actually
get it on that
pretty,
day.
that's a lot easier to do. One thing also, we're gonna look at to do software that's gonna be more portal driven. And so where all of the different groups are gonna be responsible for putting their information in. And so that's something we can do.
So that might help.
I just want to make a comment and really thank you and your team, because the board brief helps so much. Often when we get the agenda now, I've already seen that information.
Thank you.
Or some iteration of it. So it's not like a brand new, topic with data that I'm having to look at for the first time. So kudos to the board brief. It's chock full of information
Thank you.
every single week.
I would agree, because I am feeling that by the time we do small group, by the time we do the board brief, I actually have a much clearer understanding of where, and we've seen sometimes in the board brief, because it's weekly,
Yeah.
we're seeing stuff or information and data and all sorts of stuff multiple times, that it makes it easier when the board book comes out, I can digest it quicker.
Well, the thought behind it is too, that we synthesize the information based on your feedback. And so when we hear from you that this is different or that's different, then we can synthesize that. By the time you get to a board meeting, when we talk to you, say, oh, that question's there. I need to be more clear about how we're describing that. So thank you.
Can I ask just, again, the timeline of when we do small groups versus draft versus public, just so I understand?
Okay.
What is the goal? Like, what day do we do small? Is it
Well, I mean,
one
the
week
thing,
before?
the problem
or-
is that, like, it's the problem with the calendar right now. Like, for spring break, I'm doing this week on the 4th, and you're having the board meeting on the 17th. Or
Yes.
yeah, well, because the thing is, we have a spring break in between all that, and I'm trying to get that fit in, because that Tuesday following, it's, so that's why it
So
would
like
be easier.
typically, what is your goal to do?
The week
small
prior.
groups
The week prior, so that way it's kind of an
in
opportunity.
a draft before the
Mhm.
final is. over.
Yeah, because that way you have, to Trustee Gambino's point, the fullest and most complete version of what you're going to ask you to consider at the board meeting, so you're incredibly prepared for the board meeting, right? And so
Okay.
then you've seen it a couple of times.
Well, I'm fine with the way we're doing it.
Thank you very much.
And we don't have
Yes.
to spell that out here. That really,
Yeah, we don't. So we should probably move on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Keep going, guys. We've got a lot to go through.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull us back into the red language
Oh, I was already on another
Can we-
page.
I
on
think-
board meetings, and
Can we not go like line by line?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is gonna take a while.
I
if
just
we
wanted to
go.
make sure, yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Okay.
I think that's
Is
a
there
great
anything
suggestion.
else on this page that anyone has questions on?
Are we on page 22 of the old?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, let me just show you. So, you can see here, there's words, and here. I don't have these two.
Okay.
So I'm passing, I'll just come back
Why
and
don't
get
you
it.
start at the other end and then
There we
pass it
go.
down?
Pick it up when it gets to trustee Gambino.
The other question, I'm sorry, guys, the other question
think
that's
so.
right here.
wouldn't
was-
it be more, I'm sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
to have you read it once so we don't have to all
I
do
am
this?
happy to do
Yeah,
that.
that'd be
I'm
great.
happy.
I mean, we're sitting here and it's just going on later and later, so if you could just quick read to us, that would be good.
Second paragraph, the red, the question in letters posed is how? How do we notify? Board of Trustees shall be given notice of regular, the question is how?
Can I just say that I've been on this board for over 3 years, and we've never had an emergency meeting. So,
I've been in the school business, I've been a superintendent for 20-plus years. I've never had an emergency meeting. They're
hope we
pretty
don't.
far between.
Well, this is for the regular and special meetings, and then the very latter part of this sentence is for the emergency.
I
But
thought she was asking
I think
about the
she's
emergency.
asking, how is that notice
How's it given?
delivered so that we can specify it in here, or does it need to be
The
specified?
superintendent notifies us of pretty much
Email,
everything, so
yeah.
I'm fine with this without the word how.
it's in our weekly board.
Okay, go ahead.
Next paragraph, last statement, the board president should call emergency meeting was determined by, et cetera, et cetera. And then as defined by, and she has inserted the words legal code. Don't know if that has meaning. I think what's here is probably sufficient,
I
but
think it's sufficient.
I'm
I
just-
think it's sufficient.
Well, it's defined by law, and then it's also codified already in board policy. So, I mean, we can make
Right.
changes, but if we don't have to.
We're covered.
unless
We're
you think
good.
There's a legal
I'm good. I
advantage
shouldn't
to
say
that
lead.
recommendation. Okay.
A couple things, on the special meeting, the minimum, if, essentially what the law says is if the 3 people request a meeting, the board president has to call it. There's no minimum to call a special meeting, so I think the board has just said, instead of having it be the required legal of 3, 2 people can request a special meeting. So if you want to keep that uniform at 3.
I thought we already did that and changed it to 3.
She was checking legal.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
sorry. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, so we can,
Okay.
okay, so we changed it to 3.
Yes.
The one thing that did come up here is, and this has actually been a bit of an issue, is I think right now your current board policy says that the board is going to find out about a special meeting when the agenda is posted. Do you guys want, if there is a special meeting being called, how far in advance should the board should the president have to alert the board, or what should that process look
What is
like?
what is the legal requirement? Is there one?
No, that's why you can
Okay.
just call it at the same time as the agenda goes out. Could be when you would find out about the meeting.
You said it has to be 3 days in advance for an emergency meeting?
It has to be, I'm not talking about emergencies,
A
I'm just
special
talking about
meeting.
special. 'Cause
Special
you're gonna have a
meetings?
calendar for regular, right? And then you're gonna have, special meetings. And I'm only bringing this up because it actually has been an issue when we've been trying to have special meetings. How far in advance of the agenda going up do you need to be alerted of the meeting? Or can you just be alerted the day the agenda is going up, which is what this says?
By law, we have to post a special meeting notice, what, for
5 days,
5.
it's the same as for a regular.
5 days is sufficient, I would think, by
I mean,
law.
our special meetings, we've been having one almost every month. So, I mean, it does help to know, like,
Okay.
so we can plan ahead.
On the
That's gonna be a
calendar in
thing
the
we're gonna be
past, the first Tuesday of every month, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's the first Tuesday of every month was set aside for a potential special meeting. I don't know, maybe that wasn't understood, but that would, to me, sounds like a calendar issue or something we could include on the calendar where that might be reserved for any special meeting needed.
That's how we've done it in the past.
Yeah, we've put a placeholder for that so everybody knows to kind of be there.
There's a couple of months we don't hold them, like 4th of July week and, because
Yeah.
it's usually the first Tuesday of the month. But can we continue doing that and have this
Absolutely,
be
yeah.
sufficient?
Could we don't do it in May though, right? 'Cause graduation and everything. So
I
we're not-
don't think we have one on the calendar
Yeah.
right now in May. No, I'm
do
being
either.
confirmed.
And I'm also
Trustee
trying to
Summer on
put
that.
those, frame them into the board meetings too, but yeah, I appreciate it.
So it's just gonna be part of the calendar?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's how it's been in the past, so that's
get a
good.
highlighter.
Okay.
And then otherwise, if it's not on there, but she has to call a special meeting for some reason, you guys are fine with finding out on the day that she puts the agenda up.
I'm not talking about, I'm just talking in general.
In general about
The,
special, yeah.
the superintendent, even former administration before that, usually contacted all the trustees immediately of a need for a meeting, and we've been able to operate that quickly, and an agenda didn't go up before we were contacted, so,
So do you want to just say as soon as practicable?
Yeah.
see, I can't say that word,
We're talking about
practicable.
right after the
There we go.
special meeting component, right?
With the understanding that only a quorum is necessary.
As soon,
As
instead
soon
of
as-
at the
as
same
soon as
time.
As soon,
And
But
that's
no
fine.
later than
But
is
no later.
practical. So as soon.
Okay,
as-
thank you.
Correct.
I'm just trying to move us along.
Was there anything else on this page? Okay, can we go to the next page?
Okay.
Man, I could skip several pages.
Okay, we'll wordsmith that. Okay, there was nothing else on the remainder of this page, and so we're down to notice of Conroe ISD Board of Trustee meetings. Again, that was, most of all that's in blue, so it's law. The next section is Conroe ISD Board of Trustees meeting agendas. Any suggestions or discussion there?
Why, no, or if you're going to put. No, but if you're going to put the red part, if we're going to keep the red part in, then instead of saying on the same day, say by the same day. Because then it makes it even, if we get it to them earlier, but it's just mincing words.
So you think by the same day? is
Well,
your
no, that's when it's
suggestion?
made public. On the same
On
day
or
the agenda is
before?
made public. Oh.
On or before.
And
All right.
we're talking about that very first paragraph, right? In red?
The Conroe ISD Board of Trustees meetings and agendas, the red paragraph at the bottom of page 22. We're adding that, I mean, that's proposed change.
Yep.
And we all said we were good with it, but if we're putting it in there with a policy change, a potential need for a policy change, then it should just say on or by.
Okay, I have honor before, you like
Because-
honor or by?
Or whichever way. I'm
Okay.
just saying that it puts us in alignment with what
With what we decided.
you did above.
Right,
So
correct.
I was just trying to keep it
I
consistent.
like it, I've got that noted and I've got that changed.
I have nothing on 23 or 24,
I
so,
had something on 23.
okay.
I'm just confused under Conroe ISD Board of Trustees conduct during meetings. If you go down to the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees agree to conduct meetings via the following procedures, what's in green. The second bullet under that one says to first seek recognition from the board president before commenting on a topic being discussed and direct questions to the president. So there's that bullet, and then if you go down to the bottom bullet, it says the president shall not interfere with debate. The president may halt discussion if the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees has agreed to a time limitation. It just seems like saying the president shall not interfere with debate kind of conflicts with the other bullet points in those paragraphs. So I would suggest that either we remove that or change it so it all aligns.
I also put the second bullet, I thought it was a little bit overkill, so I think we could just.
You mean the last
strike-
one
No,
that
the
she's mentioning?
second bullet.
Yeah,
to
that's-
just
I have that one
strike-
underlined,
Just
yeah.
to strike that.
So, but bullet point number 2, go, but leave the last one in, is that what you were
Well, the
saying?
first sentence and the last, like, the last bullet point, that first sentence conflicts with the rest of what the paragraph, or the bullet points, all the bullet points are saying. So I'm not sure how you, for that.
I think the only reason that's there is it's kind of part of Robert's Rules of Order, but I don't care one way or the other. I could see what you're saying with the last one, so,
Second bullet,
yes.
trustee Horton has that struck, completely removed on her notes.
But that does coincide with Robert's Rules of Order, so
And just a reminder that this is also gonna require a board policy change,
Right.
which again is fine as long as it's purposeful, and we're gonna have to make sure we align that.
but our policy does state that we
And also-
adhere to Robert's Rules of Order.
And this one does, this operating procedure
So-
also is saying it, so.
I don't know, but I think if you just struck the president shall not interfere with debate, it would all shore up. I don't think that really aligns with Robert's rules so much either, because the president is supposed to direct the discussion of the board, if we're following Robert's rules.
Which is why the second bullet is needed. or-
So like if you took out the final bullet where it says the president shall not
That's the
interfere
one
with
I was
debate.
referring
Yeah,
to.
if you take that out, I think the rest of it would align better.
I think what I'm understanding you saying is if we're saying that the president isn't gonna interfere with debate, that appears to be conflicting with the board having to first seek recognition from the board president.
Yeah, and then directly after that, it says the president may halt discussion, which would technically be interfering with debate.
Right, but there's an if, that's if there's a time limitation, so that's supposed to be when that time limit has expired, right?
Mhm.
So I think if you're not, I don't think that the bullet itself is conflicting. I understand what you're saying about that bullet up top. I think though, once the debate has begun, they're not stopping that, but it's managing the order of that discussion initially starting. So I don't know if there's a way to word it better, or if it just remove, it's up to.
Well, it
it's
says
up to
it, like, to first seek recognition from the board president. I mean, that is technically like making it a line.
So are you saying, I'm just wanting to make sure I understand, Trustee Sumler, to remove at the very last bullet point, the first sentence, and then just leave the rest of it?
Yeah, I don't think the first sentence makes sense.
Okay, so take out the president shall not interfere with debate.
I think, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just a reminder, this takes board policy
Change,
right?
I know, but we're already
And that's-
making
that's
several
where
other
we're
policy changes, so.
And I mean, the point is, let's follow Robert's rules of order, or let's make sure
Yeah,
it's aligned to
or you
that,
could even
right?
say, like, we'll follow Robert's rules of order, and then we'll be aligned to that. I think it would.
It
make
is
more
in
sense
there,
as well.
it is in here.
Well, if it's in there, then the rest of it probably doesn't need to be stated.
Okay, and then, so after the board policy bullets, we have all the remaining green bullets of that section.
Oh, hold on, sorry, I had one before we get to that. The trustee minutes, could we strike, by the board secretary? Because we have, it says or clerk, we have someone that's always doing the minutes in our regular meetings, so I would just like to strike the board secretary. And then I think we need to add in for closed session that the secretary will be doing the minutes.
Okay.
Are you under,
Right under, in the orange, Conroe ISD Board of Trustee minutes, that very first
Oh, up above.
line.
oh, okay.
Sorry.
Oh,
We
okay.
kind of skipped over that part, but
It says or clerk, yeah.
I just want to strike board secretary.
Hang on, that control F7. Wait. Okay. Do you have all this? I just want to make sure my control
You can
F7.
just put a comment that says delete, because what I also need to see is if that's in the secretary duties. So you could just put a comment in there that says delete for the secretary to keep minutes.
Okay,
And
here,
then you can check.
here we go.
see if
It's just that's not what we're actually doing,
The
so
written
I
minutes of
just
all
want
meetings
to.
shall be approved by the vote of the governor and signed by the board president and the board secretary.
But then I do think we need to add that the secretary takes minutes for the closed session.
I agree.
You're not eliminating the signature of the board secretary. Because that's still primary, I'm
Right.
shocked if that's not.
It's
What
the
they're
secretary
saying-
right
Up at
here.
the
They're
top.
saying
I
at
got
the
you. I
top,
got
she
you.
wants
Yeah.
to,
Where it says clerk.
action shall be carefully recorded by the board secretary or clerk. You just want to take that out, is that what I'm understanding?
She wants the board secretary out,
Yeah.
because it's being done by a clerk.
Okay.
I don't think the secretary's ever taking minutes of open meetings,
Okay.
to my knowledge.
Okay, so we're just aligning that to actual practice by removing that as a secretary duty. I mean, the language allows for both or either this way, but I mean, that is, we can absolutely do that.
But then we just check to see if that's in the duties.
Typically,
So we might, but you don't have to check it now. But
Yeah,
we'll
we'll-
put it in there.
It just says that ensures an accurate record is kept of the proceedings, and if I'm signing off on the agenda
Then you're
meetings,
achieving
then that's achieving that.
Yep, okay, I have that struck. And so now we're
And
back.
then she wants to add and, keep a certified agenda during closed session. The secretary will keep a certified agenda during closed session. We probably need to put that in the secretary duties as well.
And I'm gonna put that as green because that's a local. Okay, I have that adjustment.
Thank you. That's
Yes,
all I had.
absolutely.
Second paragraph, may I move?
Oh, wait, on the same page?
Page 23,
On the trustee minutes?
where it says the official minutes of the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees shall be retained on file in the office of the superintendent and shall be available. On this document, that is scratched, and it says the superintendent and shall be posted on the board webpage.
It is.
It is.
No, I'm just, yeah. I'm
No,
just-
it is. It's already
Okay.
done.
So,
We don't need it.
don't need it. That's okay.
Okay.
That's it.
And I think that shall be available for examination during regular office hours.
That's the truth.
It's covered if it's posted. This would require it to be posted. This allows for available to come in and examine, which is also something that can be done, or the posting if it's posted. So this is a bit broader and part of policy, so I would agree with leaving that, because you can do both.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
Okay, so now we're back, and I'm gonna make sure that we don't have any other bullets in the section of conduct during meetings that we need to go through. We have the local bullets in green.
I had a question about the texting, emailing, phone calls, electronic devices thing. It seems like everybody usually has their phones out, and our board meetings are so long that it's kind of problematic to not be able to like text your kid back if they ask you something. We're here for 8 hours, so I'm a little bit concerned about having to walk out of the board meeting to avoid distractions if my family needs me for a second.
I understood that as well, but I felt like it allowed for it when it said, unless there is an emergency or other significant matter. And to me, I mean, in this particular board, there are a lot of moms on it. And in addition, it's on a school night. And in addition, as long as it's not a distraction or causing a problem, I think it actually addresses that.
Well, so
Or other
since,
significant matter.
I'm sorry, but so since that's not in board policy or required by law, could we just strike it?
I think that would be wise.
Was that added? I mean, I know that that's been a topic of discussion
The
among the
reason-
public,
That needs
but.
to be a reminder.
The reason I added in there is because sometimes new board members, the perception is sometimes when you're on your phones that you're not focused, doing things that are
Shopping for watches.
inappropriate, or I've also had a lot of public information requests for texts that were happening during that time. So I just always like to remind board members of that perception and lay it out as an expectation. That's why it's in there. Totally up to you what you do.
Everybody has an electronic device or phone out right now, so I just think if we're gonna say it, then we need to do it. Maybe we should just kind of trust the board members to be adults and, conduct themselves in a business-like manner.
You can also shift it. You can also say minimize the use of, or so it's up to
I
y'all.
think minimize would be
Minimize
good,
the
yeah.
use.
I think
That's
minimize
fine.
would be good.
Minimize use of
Yeah,
it.
and just,
Because it is distracting.
just like
I
strike
agree.
the focus
Well,
on the meeting
and
at
that
hand long
actually
part and
came
say
up.
minimize
I'll
use of cell
reiterate what you
phones.
said, because I don't think they heard it, but they may have. May I just want to reiterate what legal said, and that is, this is a reminder that when this is up and somebody there's watching and they want your texts, they can get them. That's just a to me, this is a very subtle reminder. It's just nicely written.
I would still go with minimize
Yeah.
use of cell phones.
I agree.
Okay, so it would say minimize use of cell phones or engaging in texting unless there's an emergency or other significant matter.
And then strike the bullet above that. The one that starts focus on meeting at hand.
Okay, so that one is kind of more specific as the broader with electronic devices and.
It just seems a bit redundant. I mean,
If it's broader than
So the only
cell
thing that
phone.
that's not redundant would be the conducting private or side discussions, and that is, I think an etiquette piece worth talking about. It's distracting, there's recordings going on, things like that, so I would suggest we talk through that. I mean, if everybody doesn't have a problem with striking, that's fine. I just think that's probably the one piece that looks to me to not be redundant.
why not just say minimize the use of cell phones or engaging in texting unless there's an emergency or other significant matter? Or just minimize use of cell phones or engaging in texting, period. And say, minimize conducting private or side discussions, or, don't conduct private or side discussions, something like that. Focus on the meeting at hand and avoid conducting side discussions.
That's where refrain goes.
So focus on the meeting at hand, avoid distractions,
Mm-hmm.
but you're suggesting deletion of all of that up until and then stay, and do
Yeah,
not conduct?
I would say minimize use of cell phones or engaging in texting, focus on the meeting at hand, avoid distractions, and avoid conducting private or side discussions.
Okay. So if I do that, are you proposing to put it in as one bullet or keep it as the two separate bullets?
Put it in as one bullet, just together.
I'm
Okay.
fine with that as well.
When you get that, would you reread it, please?
Yeah, let me wordsmith it then.
That's
I was
fine.
gonna highlight
That
it,
is
but
fine.
so we can move forward, but.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
it's okay. I mean, I think we got,
The gist of it?
Yeah,
we got
Okay,
the
they're
gist.
comfortable, they're comfortable with it.
We're
If we
good.
can move on,
Yeah,
let's move on.
Okay, if we're comfortable with the proposed suggestion, we will
Yes.
clean
Yes,
that up and get
please.
that where it needs to be. I'm gonna highlight and move that forward.
Perfect. Thank
Okay.
you.
Board meeting reports and presentations. This is kind of our legal base, that first
I'm
paragraph.
good with it. Is everyone else?
With which one?
We are on board meeting reports and presentations.
Looks good to me.
No, I'm great with this.
Yes.
And we have board meeting closed session.
Fine with that too.
Me as well.
Yes.
Just, there are a few of these as we progress that, and we can talk about those in the appropriate closed session as well, but there are a few of these read that are indicative that it is within the superintendent's contract. And so we wanted that document aligned as well. So Ms. Blue did a great job of looking at that legal document as well as these operating procedures. So that's where that red is coming from. So
I'm good
since there's
with
no
the red,
suggested
too.
changes, it's fine, but I did want you to know why that's in red. Okay, public attendant, do you have something?
I do. So trustee Horton has last four sentences of that red paragraph struck.
This is.
You can go into closed
superintendent.
session for
Yeah.
Yes, we
we're
need
not,
to.
We're not gonna talk about that.
We
part.
can't do superintendent items here. Thank you.
So, just marking that for any other discussions. Okay, for future. Let's see, public attendance at Conroe ISD meetings.
Fine with that.
What page are we on? I'm sorry.
The old
Old
25.
Oh, I see it. I got it. Okay.
26, 25.
25.
Okay, anything on how are the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees agendas created?
I had one. Could we define what it means to timely submit an agenda item? Because I know this
That's-
has come up in the past.
Yes, ma'am. That's a great question. Dr. Vinson, myself, and Kara have been working on putting together, when you were mentioning earlier, I think Ms. Gambino, Trustee Gambino was mentioning where these items would be located. I've asked that, well, actually, Ms. Ballou started it where she was asking for a location to be created that was a link, just like where we put in our forms, our records requests and our policy request changes and the agenda. And so currently, we have, I think, 4 going on right now that we're trying to get established for y'all to be included in every board brief, where the link will be there for you to be able to request. Now, as far as your timeline, that's being defined as far as that, and in conjunction of backdating for when their agenda has to be complete and all, and then enough time for y'all. So we're still creating that exact
but
number.
we're gonna have.
We are getting, we're
'cause I
working
think
on.
that will,
Yeah.
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
it, can it just reference whatever that?
Yeah, I think we can
Whatever
add a
that's-
reference here
Yeah.
that the superintendent will create a submission form, a board agenda submission form. But that still begs the question, and there have been a couple of concerns with this. How far do you guys want to put in a self-timeline for how far in advance of a meeting you would have to tell Misty you want some, or board president?
That's what I was asking.
Yes.
But my question for you on that is, I don't know that that's been determined as of yet.
That's what I would
So that's
suggest
the
you guys think
concern.
about
I would
that.
rather us make a note here to revise that and bring it back to the trustees when we make all these changes and we all see it again for the final review, that then we could implement that date.
This will require a board policy change anyway.
Yes.
But just something to think about again is we have to post the agenda 5 business days before the meeting. So the question is, if you guys wanted something on the agenda, how far in advance of that
And
should you have to submit this form?
Could you leave board policy alone and then have a local determination of when that is timely, or would
They
you
really
recommend
need to-
putting it
I
into
would
board
recommend
policy?
putting it
Okay.
into board policy because
Yeah.
it's.
Yes.
I think it should be.
I think it needs to be. I just think that it's not known. I mean, I didn't know until I was sitting in this position how much has to be organized, gathered, checked, legal, everything before things can actually be prepared and on the agenda, and giving the time for it to get onto the agenda legally. I just don't know what that date is yet. I mean, I'd love to say that it needs to be 5 days prior to the board's agenda posting, but I know that's not realistically enough time.
Could we, these meetings are very long. Is there some way that we could, like, let's say all 7 of us requested an agenda item, right? Like, is there a way to maybe limit what we have in any meeting? I know that could get really tricky to figure out, but I just want to be mindful of all of our time, and I know everything's urgent to all of us, whatever we're submitting to be looked at, but is there some kind of parameters we can put in place?
I can
with
go in
the
and try to
length of
look at that,
meetings?
because I know there's a lot. And, honestly, one of the things that I'm going to ask and request of you is, we're fixing to start going deep diving into curriculum and instruction and designing our systems to support that. And so, there's a lot of things that I have backlogged for y'all to talk about. I mean, backlogged.
Yeah.
And, from cell phones to dress code to all those kind of things that I really want to get to. I mean, that are really important, because in all honesty, you're making plans for next year, right? And so you have to do that. And so, yeah, I would like to figure out a way to make that happen.
Maybe Dr. Vincent, as we request things, you could just send in a board brief, like, hey, I'm thinking, here's the items, here's maybe the months that, we're
Yeah.
thinking.
Actually, I
So
could just
that
share
way
it with
I
you because I already
know-
have it.
Yeah, what?
I could just share it with you because I already have it, and I just
Okay.
keep pushing it down further.
Because if we don't hear, like, let's say, I asked about cell phones, if I know, hey, we're going to cover this in May, I'm not going to ask you about
No.
it again.
The thing is that's one of the things that really is important, because, I mean, all those kind of things. And as we create policy and plans, because really you have to get it done, so you're planning for the next year for your handbooks and stuff. So
Yeah, I guess it's just being able to put a plan for what all of our requests are in a
Yeah.
timely, spread out fashion.
no, I'd love it.
I like that, but I would also like to just point out that actually each month, trustees may have 1 or 2 items on the agenda.
I'm just saying.
I know, so I mean, I'm
Oh,
just
that's a
saying
good
that
point.
we're not overloading the agenda as much as just the agendas are so
I would
massive.
I would just add that with the request, that maybe there are some parameters of what type of agenda item it is. Is it, just give it some type of category so that maybe you can prioritize it based on the categories that's selected. Because there's going to be some topics that are not as urgent as others. And so the trustee, we would need to be able to identify that and to have that conversation, but on that form, be able to put where we think it lies.
On the form that Dr. Vincent, but on the form that we've been working on, it has drop downs on, is this an emergency item? Is this a whatever? But one of the things you all need to understand is that once a trustee makes a request for an item to be on the agenda, the president by law is required to get it on the agenda within 2 meetings. So it makes it, I mean, unless the trustee agrees to the delay on it, I am, or whomever is seated here is required, so.
Yeah, the thing but to that point, like, Trustee Dawson that said some of the cell phones, oh yeah, we've got to, because I've got to look through that for the handbook. So it's a legit deal, but then you're going, oh, How do you get that done? It's complicated, and that's the other thing too, is even with regard to board policy, one of the things that we've set forward as a precedent is we have a 30-day plan after you received the formal draft of the board policy, that you have a chance to review it so that we can put it in consent agenda. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure you have the due diligence time to make that work. But some of these things we're kind of redesigning, especially as the board agenda goes, it'll help us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My only point is I just want to not overwhelm you guys. I want us to be fair to each other and all of our time, so.
Well, I mean, it's
that's
right now,
my point.
it's 8 o'clock. We've been at this since 5. And how much, how fresh are you right now to make these things done? And I mean, it's a challenge for us, And the one thing too, guys, I want you to know, I want you to be proud of what you're doing, and I want it to be meaningful while we spend your time here. And that's always my goal. So, it's time well spent. It's just I'm worried about you getting tired.
Okay, so we didn't answer Trustee Dawson's original question on what the deadline time is, but is there a way to make a notation there that we fill that in?
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
what in our final draft, so
I
that we
have
can
done
move
that.
on?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I put
Okay.
topics are considered timely submitted when, and then I put a note pending final decision, and I've highlighted that. So
Perfect.
yes, I've
Thank
got that
you.
ready for us to move right along.
I do have one item one word at the bottom of page 25, which did come up in a situation this last year. So I want to make sure we define this more clearly. And I had forgotten it until I looked here and saw the note. And it says that the very bottom paragraph, the board president shall not have authority to remove from the agenda a subject requested by a trustee without the trustee's specific authorization. I request that we add that the shall not have the authority to remove from the final agenda.
Why does that make a difference?
There was some question,
Should be
sorry,
final posted agenda.
posted agenda. Ms. Ballou, would you please address that question when it comes to, I know we had some question about, well,
It seems like what you're saying is like in the draft agendas, items can be added, but in the final agenda, you can't remove it. But if it's posted, you can't remove it under law, so it doesn't really make sense.
No,
to say
it
that.
mattered because what happened was, a trustee had asked for an item to be on the agenda, and the agenda was about to be posted within the day. And then I didn't put it on in the October meeting because they didn't ask for it to be on. They just asked for it to be on that agenda. And it was an item that happened in that month. And so by saying, when it didn't go on because we didn't have the time to put it on the agenda that month, she didn't ask for it to be considered in the next month as well, and there was a communication issue there. So by saying that I was being told I removed something from the agenda, and I didn't remove it, it was never on the final agenda.
Yeah, but if it's a final agenda, you can't remove it anyway, so it doesn't really make sense to say final.
Well, it was a question for the person. So I'm just saying, by stating that if we just stated the word final agenda, it covers it, and it's not ambiguous to someone.
I mean, it just
I would
seems
say
like it's already
final
covered.
posted. That is the law. I mean, but
What-
it did
what-
come up that a board, we pulled a item that wasn't ready very close to the agenda deadline. And then a board member said, well, you can't pull an item that you've already agreed to put on the agenda.
Which we never had.
And ultimately, the president retains authority right up until it's posted. But the argument came up, well, you said you were gonna put it on, and this language says this. I would even strike this language, it's just not necessary, but, that was the confusion, if I'm making any sense.
But it's in policy.
This is in policy, right? Because it's in orange.
It's in policy.
But, so that's what I'm asking is, can we make a change where it's not ambiguous? That's all I'm caring about.
That's fine.
I will say this, sometimes when you want something on the agenda and you force it to get it on the agenda, because we need a little bit more time to make sure it's all correct and clear and all those kind of things.
Yes, I know.
So I've put in an adjustment for that final sentence to read, the board president shall not have authority to remove from the final, posted agenda.
subject requested by a trustee without that trustee's specific authorization.
But I'm just curious how the board president would ever have the authority to remove something from the final posted agenda.
It's not.
So why would we write that?
Because as I stated, she assumed that she was stating that once it was requested to be on
It's
that
just if you
agenda.
write it like that, it makes it sound like you do have that authority, except that it's written here, so you don't. But
You could just strike that line.
yeah. I was
Okay, I'm good
suggesting that.
striking it.
You just strike the entire sentence?
I'm good with that. Either define it or strike it.
Strike it.
Gone.
It's covered in
Moving on.
policy.
Page 26.
All right, page 26. So we have how are consent agenda items created? Anything there?
I don't have anything on this page.
Okay,
Neither do I.
okay. All right, so we have how trustees, okay, you don't have anything on the communicate regarding agenda items on the superintendent and trustee communication?
Nothing
Okay.
on page 26.
I have nothing on
Okay,
26.
so I'm,
On 26, yes, on the last paragraph, where do I find past and upcoming board meeting agendas? I don't think this is pertinent to,
where do I find past and upcoming board meeting agendas? Is that, you feel like that shouldn't be in there, or?
yeah, I don't, this is the board operating procedures, right?
I think, I'll let you guys.
Yes,
talk.
so part of what, these are, remember that this is not in a final format, it's gonna be in a forward-facing document that's meant as a two-way communication. And so there are some sections in there so that people can go see where all of these things are posted, so that they, just for that added resource or that added point of clarity.
Okay.
So that just kind of aligns with that, document where, while these are for the board operating procedures, they're also for the public to be able to see, access, and understand what
Okay,
it
that
is
helps.
that the board is doing,
All
if
right.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not married to it. I'm happy if y'all want to strike that, to strike it. I
It's
just-
not a big deal.
Okay.
Do you want to take a-
So I would propose we have not had a break in a
That's what we were
really
just
long
about to
time,
ask for.
And we're in a new section, so I would suggest that we go ahead and take a break. How long would y'all like, and let's do that.
5 minutes?
We were gonna end up doing 10.
I know, so if we say
30
5,
days.
it's one more, then it's 10. And then, all right, so the time is, I have to look at the right clock, 8:19, correct, gentlemen? 8:19, the board will take a 5-minute break. So let's just say, let's be back at, let's just say 8:30.
Okay.
The time is 8:33. We are back in session, and we are picking up on page 27.
Yes, we
Ms.
are.
Duncan.
Okay, so you all are doing wonderful work. This is a tedious process, so thank you for sticking with me. But words matter, and what we're doing here matters tonight. So thank you for hanging in there. I am going to try to do a couple of things to pick up the pace, but without losing any of the great quality discussion that we've had so far. I'm really proud of the alignment and the robust discussion. I want to keep that going. And so I'm going to ask that we streamline our conversation to the procedures. It's hard because a lot of the procedures are related to all these other components and pieces, and some of them do need to enter in here, so I understand that. So along those lines, I am going to name the section and then ask if there's any feedback for each section. And we're just gonna, if you have it, we'll talk about it. Otherwise, we're gonna move to the next section.
Let's drive it.
Here we go. Okay, so trustee communication is where we've left off. So do I have any suggestions or feedback on the trustee communication section?
I have a question about it. On the bottom of 27, communication from citizens. I think we'd agreed previously that the board president, if we were all emailed, would be the one to respond. Is that right? That like if we got an email where like the citizen CC'd all of the board members on it, that the board president would respond to that one, because that way the citizen wouldn't get like 7 different emails back. Is that right? Did we decide that at some point?
I wasn't aware of it, but I was replying to him, usually in conjunction with making sure I didn't put us in any legal jeopardy.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
customary from my previous experience.
Okay, and then if like somebody emailed us individually, then we would respond and pass them to the superintendent. But I thought maybe we should write that down, like the board president will, because I think people get confused too, because they won't get a response from all the board members.
I actually think that's in here.
Is it in here?
Yes.
On
I
the
think, and it
communication
says
from
that,
citizens?
that you all could receive a copy of that response.
Yeah.
In here,
Okay.
it says that.
Well, it just would be good, because I don't want people to feel like they're not getting a response.
Exactly.
But we also, we just need to make it clear how we're responding.
Okay, here it is. It's the third bullet under communication by spokesperson. And it says, if the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees Board of President responds to an inquiry in writing on behalf of the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees, which I usually don't do it on behalf. I usually do it just stating from a board kind of perspective. But all trustees must receive a copy of the response. So it does state that. And because
Okay.
I don't like that I'm limited in sharing that with you all. It's still a public record. We're not deliberating. But in here, it states that you all can have that copy, so that's
Okay.
good.
It says we must receive that copy. I don't know if you've been,
It's not been in here before.
But
This
we're
is
gonna
new.
start doing
Yeah,
that? Okay.
that's what's in here, is a proposed change.
So if we get an email where all of us are CC'd on it, the board president replies and CCs us on
So
the copy-
in previous,
on the reply.
just to that point, I always respond to, and then I send y'all a response and blind copy all that for that part. In previous, I've had board presidents that will email me, I've responded, and then I take that and I then communicate that to y'all so that doesn't violate any TOMA issues.
I do have a little concern, though, that the citizen doesn't feel like the board replied to them. So, so if there's a way to address this, I'm going to address this,
I always would encourage you to say on behalf of the trustees,
yeah.
and.
No, I don't mean
we will
me. I mean, if you're going to respond to it.
No, I like it. I think they need to hear from the board. And the thing is, then you'll just email me, but you're on behalf of the
Okay.
board, and then that way it
That
works. And everybody feels communicated with, and they feel whole as far as that process goes.
In this particular case, Ms. Baloo, we're okay that we CC it back to everyone. I just want to make sure legally.
Yeah, but you just can't deliberate
Yes,
at all.
we understand
So
that.
nobody can respond.
Right, I just want to make sure. Okay.
100% of the time, what I do is it goes to her, and then it will be BCC, so nobody can respond to anybody.
Yeah.
And I generally try to make sure Dr. Vinson knows what's been responded and Ms. Baloo, so that we're not going on. So anyway, move on.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? But that doesn't preclude or prevent another trustee from responding as well, correct?
I think that's where you really start skating with that potential for inadvertent deliberation.
Inadvertently,
So
my
that
request
makes
is
me-
this.
But not CCing any other, like if
Oh,
the
you're
board
talking-
president responded, but it just happened to be something that another trustee had knowledge of, could the other trustee also respond? But obviously not
a singular
CCing any other
response?
trustee.
Oh, okay.
It's totally up to you. I mean, the idea here is that the president would speak on all of your behalf and you wouldn't.
But there
all-
might be times when another trustee has an expertise in something or knowledge of something that it would make more sense, or it would make sense for that trustee to respond. Like, I don't think that the president's voice should diminish other board members' voices if they have, I mean, I
In this-
just want to make sure I understand.
In a
what
particular
we're committing
situation,
to.
this happens, not frequently, but somewhat often. A board member would say, hey, I had some information about this. And it's like, yeah, go ahead and share that with them. And I don't know if I would share that with, I don't know, sometimes I'll say, hey, well, this person had that thing to share with, but not on a frequent basis, but some infrequently that happened.
Do you want to add that in here then, that if a board member,
But I think that we're all responding to different emails, correct? I mean,
I think it's at our discretion, yeah.
Yeah.
And we did discuss this. It was discussed in closed session, so I'm not sure I can speak about what we discussed then.
There is that first sub-bullet does say the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees president will clearly indicate when speaking in official capacity. So we have that, or as an individual trustee, which I think is what you were talking about there. So just kind of taking a step back. you know, and then the second bullet is similar in that all of the Board of Trustees refrain from speaking for the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees and will explain they're speaking in their individual capacity as a trustee. And I think that's what you're maybe
Yes,
speaking to.
correct.
So, I mean, we have that bullet
I
in
mean, we're all
there to
Right,
guide.
we're elected,
Mhm,
yeah.
To guide that.
Yeah.
So, I
Okay,
think.
just making sure I understood.
We have the bullets in there to guide both of those, examples, I think.
I just wanted to make sure that procedure wasn't changing, so thank you.
Okay, I had one question. Do I have any other changes or suggestions for that section? Okay, that puts us on page 28. No,
I have old
I have
28.
citizen participation at board meetings.
Whatever that page it is.
Everybody make it to that section? My printed copy shows 30.
This is still general communication
Yeah,
procedures.
we have 28 and 29 still to go.
I think she's going by
Oh, did
section.
I
She
oh,
said.
I'm sorry, I went
Oh.
by section. So,
Oh, sorry, I didn't have anything for that whole
I didn't have
section.
anything for 28 and 29 either.
okay. I'm going super fast.
Okay, I like it.
Okay.
Yes.
So for this section, citizen participation at board meetings, what I mean is everything from all the subsections, all the bullets, anything you see underneath citizen participation at board meetings, let's talk about that. Do I have any suggestions or questions on?
I had one at the bottom of page 30 under procedures for conducting public comment. I would
Okay.
like to add, audience shall not enter into discussion or debate or be disruptive on matters being considered by the Board of Trustees and can be removed.
Where are you wanting to add
Some kind of
that?
language on if, what happens if they're being disruptive.
I actually have added that in the last couple of years as some of my board operating procedures because of the lack of civility that people have been showing lately. And so, yeah, you could add that in there. And then actually, there's a pre-qualifying statement that it wouldn't require this, but that the board president can add and say, you know, anybody that does this, this, and this is subject to removal.
But where were you wanting to add that, trustee
Yeah,
Dawson?
because this is for public comment only.
Yeah.
Oh, well, but then it's talking about audience shall not enter into discussion or debate, so that's not public comment. It's in the public comment section, but that sentence is not referring to public comment.
And this is language pulled from BED. So what I think I'm hearing you propose is maybe either a board policy change or another local bullet that's additional inside of here that's a request. But when we have such a specific board policy section, I think it might be a good idea to change it in both. Don't you agree? Okay, so you'd like to add onto that first bullet something to the effect of if they're being disruptive or causing the board discussion to halt, essentially.
And I have that
They're being
exact language. I can
disruptive.
get it with you, and I can put it in the brief because it's really good, and it really was effective.
Okay.
Do we want to leave that, make a note on that one like we did on the other one?
I honestly don't care where we put it. Just
Yeah, we took a little time, got this done. I'll get it to y'all because it's really good.
okay.
Okay, so I have that one. I have that noted. Do we have anything else?
I did have a question on page 31, if we're moving on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was a little, I'm sorry? Okay. I was a little concerned that,
I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm correcting something.
Okay, it's just citizenship participation.
Should it say citizenship?
I think it could say either, but it's in board policy.
Oh,
I was in
sorry,
it.
you're right.
Okay, sorry, that was the board member's notes that wasn't present. It was up above where you were. So, okay, now I'm ready.
oh, no, that's
My
fine.
apologies. Okay.
That last bullet point on page 30 falls over onto page 31. It's quite extensive and long. And it says, public comment shall occur at the beginning of the meeting. When necessary for effective meeting management or to accommodate large numbers of individuals wishing to address the board, The presiding officer may make adjustments to citizen participation procedures, including adjusting when citizen participation occurred during the meeting, which I understood we've already done some of that before. Reordering agenda items, we've done that before. This is the one that I have a concern about. Deferring citizen participation on non-agenda items. Continuing agenda items to a later meeting. So my concern there, that is current board policy. Of course, we haven't done that. I'm just drawing that to the attention of the trustees to ask, and I'm actually asking, are we allowed in a regular board meeting to defer a citizen from being able to address the board even after they've signed up? Is that even legally?
I'm gonna have to look.
Okay, well, I just think that warrants a look. That's all I would say. That's
I
a
will say
concern
that
to me.
Some boards, you guys, basically what your policy says is that during regular meetings, anybody can talk about anything, whether it's on the agenda or not. But during special meetings, you can only talk about those. Some
Right.
boards limit regular meetings too, to where you can only talk about items on the agenda.
I think
I
in
don't-
practice, we're not deferring it, so I think we should just cut that
Just
part.
cut it.
Yeah, we're not doing that in practice.
All right.
There
You
are
don't want
times,
that.
I mean, the times that I've seen something like that occur is if you have a topic where you have a ton of public commenters and it's going to take the hours in
We
place
had
of the
it.
meeting.
We can't
You
cut
know,
it.
that you would limit that to those that were speaking only to the agenda as an objective way to minimize and defer the comment, those non-agenda comments to a later time. I would say that it needs to be used in extreme
I'm not in
caution.
favor of that. I'm not in favor of limiting the citizen's voice.
Okay, so you
And if
want
they
that
take
out
it-
of board
if-
policy?
if
That's why I
Yeah.
think it needs to be removed. That's where I was getting at. I was concerned that that's their only time to address publicly something that they are concerned, passionate, whatever. I just don't think
Okay.
it's reasonable, so.
Now, do you want to hold the language for workshops where they're stuck to the agenda or held to the agenda items?
Yes, I think it
Yes.
should be strictly special meetings and workshops that should continue to be based on the agenda.
Do you want to separate your public comment time for those that want to speak to agenda items versus those, okay, just
No,
asking.
just keep it simple.
Perfect, just asking.
Okay,
All right,
so I've
moving-
struck that from the list.
And the second to last comment or bullet.
In the orange or in the?
green,
Okay,
sorry.
wait, hold on, I'm still in the orange, I have one more. It says specific factual information, the third bullet point down in orange. Specific factual information or recitation of existing Conroe ISD Board of Trustee policy may be furnished by the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees in response to citizen participation. I feel like there should be, I would like to see that there's the ability for addressing non-factual statement. So I'm just wondering if that's in there. So I don't think it should be done all the time, but I'm just stating that there's been many times lately that there have been things stated that were not factual, and there is, and they're stating it up there as if it is fact. And that's the only reason why, or they'll say I have a PIR that states something and it's not actually accurate. And so I don't know if there's a way of adjusting that or if there's a need to, but that's just my question that I brought forward.
Let me look at that legally.
Okay, that's fine.
It's a little sensitive, but yeah, we can look at it. and if we
That's
can
fine.
add-
That is perfectly
Okay.
fine. I'm open to that, they'll look at that and getting back.
There's concerns about deliberation, things not being posted, stuff like that, so let me look at it. But she wants to add, you just put like non-factual.
And I don't really know what that looks like. I'm just stating it. I mean, Ms. Garza has brought up several times something that was stated and has had to go back to the person and say something.
I think that's what that's saying, though, that specific factual
That's what I was
information. That's how I read it. That is, we can recite specific factual information.
Okay, I'm sorry, Trustee Dawson, go right ahead on yours now.
The second to last bullet in green, public comment participants shall not approach board members unless authorized by the president. I don't think people know this. So how can we, because people just kind of come up here.
I've started telling them, you know, who to go to, either one of them with their materials, but
Okay. I'm just not sure how we.
Yeah,
you
can
know,
we keep it
inform.
on like what's written here? Because
It's-
I think we can talk about how to do it later.
I can work on a protocol for that.
Yeah, it's getting really late, and if we could just focus on like what the words are saying. Are you saying you want that listed in here, like how we tell people?
Yeah, I'm just saying practically, I don't think people are aware of this bullet point, so.
Well, this will be an external facing document.
That helps
And
with that.
also, the board president could say it, that when she talks about public comment, as a reminder. We
Yeah.
talked about that as a reminder, don't approach unless you're asked, and if you have something you give to the board, you give it to the clerk or whatever.
Yeah, that works for me.
okay.
We'll add something like that in there.
I can also
Do you
put a
want
container for
Do you
that.
want those procedures specified in that bullet, or do you?
We can just put it in a script.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from that section?
No, ma'am.
Next page, I have something.
Okay, what you got?
Next to last bullet on which is old page 32, participants, second bullet, participants are welcome to discuss their own student or themselves if they are students. Otherwise, the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees will not permit comments that might identify any other student. Makes sense? Addition requested is this: add something where they cannot name employees in citizen participation.
And just as a reminder, this is what Trustee Horton left as notes, so he's reciting that so that that consideration is discussed.
If we don't know that they're going to use an employee's name, I don't know.
Isn't that the same as if we don't know if they're gonna use a student's name though?
Yeah.
I mean, one difference though is that using a student's name can be a FERPA violation
Right.
and cause other legal issues, whereas the employee names can't. So it's just one of those restrictions on freedom of,
Well, if they're complimenting someone, an
Yes.
employee, you'd want, to them to be able to acknowledge them
Kudos.
publicly.
I think sometimes also being able to refer to the grievance policy if there's a concern and, reframing that, it's very limited when you can step in, but, it's nice to be able to protect your employees when you can. So that one's just that one's challenging. So I don't know what your advice is on that insertion.
it's really up to you.
I'm fine with the way it is at the moment.
Well, I've always just said that we don't use any names at all. I mean, because it's the best, most broad protocol. Because if you're doing that and you're identifying something, they have no recourse. I mean, so you can just say what you want to. So, and, my encouragement to the board president was just to stop them and say, again, we're not going to use names, as far as that goes. Fair?
I think that is why we are allowed to do individual grievances in closed session, is to protect people's privacy.
We could also put,
So no names, we just change it to be no names.
well, yeah. This one's specifically about student, but we're broadening it to employees and not use his name, so I'll put a comment in to update that and address it.
So that's to say, again, going back to, it's a positive thing, they still can't use the teacher's name.
Well, the deal is that, I just, when you're, they were, I've really never had that happen. Usually when they're coming in, they're usually mad at something. But at the end of the day, that's usually the thank you note. But yeah, that's a great point. Touche. That really is. I never thought about that.
I don't know that we can specify.
I've heard some positive things
I
about
have.
teachers and
Yeah,
students.
this is in
Okay,
green, so it's
okay.
not law or policy, so we can't really restrict it.
We can get a little, yes, and I think it may end up looking something along the lines of, we strongly recommend, or
We can make a suggestion.
suggest strongly or something, so we'll put that in and get that.
I never
updated.
thought about that. That's, dude.
Okay. 33. All right. So we are at the next section. This is We're on page 33, suggestions, concerns, or grievances made to trustees. So you got a combination of green, changeable language and board policy so that they're all aligned.
I don't have anything for
I
this
don't either.
section.
Anybody else? Any notes to discuss on that section? Are we moving forward?
Don't wait too long.
Yeah, let's keep
Move.
going. Don't wait.
Page
Keep going.
34.
Page,
Page 36.
Yeah, page,
Oh,
I-
that
really,
whole thing,
media-
36. I'm good. I have nothing
good
on the
with
other
36.
pages.
Okay, so just to be clear, we're all the way through page 35 with no
Yes.
needed
Yeah,
suggestions on
yeah,
that particular section. And we are
36,
moving
I'm
to
good.
page 36, media inquiries to trustees. Any
Good with that.
suggestions there?
I'm good.
Nope.
Everybody's good? Okay, 37, trustee visits to campus.
I did have a question on this one. I'm sorry, but
No, this is why we're doing, this
I
is the
know,
whole point.
but I don't want a trustee to ever feel like they can't visit on campuses and, or it's a burden on trustees to be on a campus. Today, I was told that always consider you have an invitation on our campus. However, here the language states that we don't enter into areas or classrooms without an administrator present, which I understand that we want to have some guidelines and so forth. I'm not questioning that. I just don't, I want to make sure that we don't put so many rules in here that it makes us feel like we're burdening the staff if we make a campus visit.
I think from an administrator perspective, that having some of these parameters will keep that from feeling like a burden.
Okay.
And more like a, oh, please come. So, I mean, just from, that's just, as an administrator of, you know, with the in and around public education, I think it will help that. Now, are some of these too stringent? Are there too many? Do we need to adjust that? To me, that's the question I pose back to you, is which ones in the wording do we need to look at and maybe work on so that we're respectful of those protocols and requirements and the safety, and the execution of the educational program, but it doesn't feel like that punitive feeling either.
I think I've always followed all of these when I've visited a campus, so I don't really see any issues with it. It's always seemed to flow pretty well.
My only one was the third from the bottom, that we need to give sufficient notice.
That's the one that I think, that's my
Well,
question mark.
and mine is more from a parent standpoint, like, probably not gonna tell you if I'm gonna go have lunch with my kids.
No, it's not practical.
Yeah, there's a different, but there's a trustees as parents or guardians on
Right.
this page, so.
But that's, I feel like some of it was kind of hitting at different points on that.
You're
but
going
yeah.
as a parent, not as a trustee.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to identify whether we're acting as a parent or a trustee also.
There'll be times and on occasion where, excuse me, go ahead.
Go right ahead, sir.
No, the thing is that there'll be times when you're asked to judge things and be in that spot. You know, sometimes you're with a principal, sometimes you're not. And so, you know, if you want to really do the important work of the door judging contest, you know, that sometimes you don't have the principal with you. So.
Well, I guess where my main one was is that many of us have great working relationships with a variety of the principals on our campus, so it may be a moot point, but Dr. Vinson, we have that working relationship, every one of us with you,
Yep.
that if we were to shoot you a text and say, hey, I'm passing Stockton, do you mind if we stop in and visit the campus, you know, or is that going to be considered sufficient notice?
Well, that's fine with me. Just realize that Carlton's going to keep you a long time.
I understand. And then if we visit some campuses, we'll see the data room.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but my point is it okay? Is that sufficient notice?
Yeah. In my mind, you know, one of the things that we've recovered with Ron's, you know, data is that they want to see you more.
I
And so
know.
if we can find a way to coordinate that, you know, I think that we can try to find a happy medium. I mean,
What is sufficient notice?
I just think, let me know, hey, I went by there. I mean, take a selfie with the people, because I think it's kind of fun.
But
to see
that's
it,
after
yeah.
the fact.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, I mean, is it more like, you know, if you're gonna stop by and say hi and, you know, bring them something nice, I mean, I don't know.
Right.
That you don't need a lot, but if you wanna go have a conversation, I mean, sufficient notice would be probably a few days, like, hey, or,
Yeah.
you know.
Schedule.
I think, you know, it kind of answers itself. Like if somebody says, I'm not available, we can't do that today, it seems like
And
that would
that's
be
great.
insufficient notice.
I think it's fine the way it's written.
Okay, that's fine with me. Moving on.
Okay, so then this lends a lot to the conversation we were just having in the next section is trustees as parents or guardians.
No comment.
Anything there?
No.
All right.
It is,
that brings-
it's a little awkward when you go to take your kid lunch. I'm just here as their parent.
I know.
I'm not a trustee right now.
I usually just don't tell them I'm a trustee, I'm just my kid's mom.
Anything to change or do with that, though? Okay. All right, so then we have trustee and superintendent communication is the next section, and we're on page 39.
Guys, I think we could actually get done at this time. I just had one thing. The second tick, the orange, superintendent keeping us informed of significant issues. I just want you to feel like you don't have to tell us everything. Like if there's a traffic accident,
I know.
like what would be like a significant issue? Because I just want to make sure you're guarding your time.
No, well, the thing is that, I know that you're referring to the emergency things that I'll give you as far as, it's really important, especially like when you're in a neighborhood and the lights go out or something. I mean, and some people will invariably call you. And so I just wanted y'all to have the heads up on that kind of stuff.
If you
But,
want to do that, that's okay. but just
I
know
really
don't
enjoy
need to
it,
know
and I
the
keep you
traffic condition.
informed. It's just, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's weird that I enjoyed that, but it makes
If
me
you like that,
feel weird
then-
that that's on
then
video,
you
but.
do you.
As long as it's not
Yeah.
burdensome,
Yeah.
or taking away your time from other things.
No, I
think
really,
that's
honestly, the
important.
thing is that no surprises is no surprises. It makes me feel better that y'all know, because sometimes, and plus, it's nice that y'all can spread the word too from people, because, y'all's network of information. Thank you for asking though.
That's fine. I got it. That's all.
Anything else on this communication
Nope.
section? And so on page 41, we have the Conroe ISD Board of Trustees self-evaluation. And this is local, so any suggestions, changes, questions?
I just
on
had a
that?
question. Is this for the entire board or individual boards, or individual members, I should say?
What is the
So
intent
it's for the entire.
Okay.
as a whole,
Yes.
a governing body?
And is this a public facing document, or?
It would be
Yep.
PIRable and public facing.
And we're evaluating ourselves? Okay.
So this is not required by law or policy, this is just voluntary.
Can we not do it then?
I don't,
I've never done it.
I think this could be strike it.
Yeah. It seems like it's something that would be time consuming and problematic.
Well, and I mean, yeah, I think it would be more beneficial if it was evaluated, someone was evaluating us, but then.
People tell us all the time how we're doing.
I mean, they do. It's ongoing, but, yeah, I mean, if we're not gonna be able to do anything substantial with this, I say we get rid of it.
Also, when you're implementing an updated procedures document, an instrument that allows you to see how are we performing based on what we've adopted and agreed to use as our decorum and behavior as a board collective, which does make up individual behavior, obviously, but, I mean, it is local, and so if you want it gone, it can go.
I mean,
but-
I'll just say this. The reason this is in here is because it's strongly recommended by TEA. Most board management books and best practices for just any management team are that you do pause and self-evaluate. So that's another principle. The final thing is why some boards like to keep this in here is because they like to demonstrate that they're evaluating themselves, just as all teachers and the superintendent are all being evaluated. They're also willing to be evaluate themselves. So those are kind of the three primary rationales for it. It's certainly not a legal requirement.
We're elected, not
That's
employed.
fair. But we're asking everyone else to evaluate. I think it's only fair that we evaluate ourselves as well.
I disagree.
I do too. We are not paid employees and we already spend considerable time doing this. I think self-evaluation is kind of
Daily.
extra. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being able to identify how the goals that have been set for the district, how we have, I mean, we are helping drive, right? We're working alongside you, but the board has a stake in that too. So, I mean, it's not like, and from being penalized, we're not necessarily penalized, but it is just showing it's a good faith. It's probably more than anything.
But we are in open meetings for every meeting where people can see everything that we're doing. That's not representative of how other employees are evaluated. So, I mean, if people really want to know how we're doing, like, they can watch the board meetings and see exactly how we're doing.
They can come, public comment.
My only comment on this is I don't think it's a negative to put out, and maybe it's not a self-evaluation, but maybe the answers to these things at the bottom where it says where we stand. But I guess if we're doing it, if we're already publicly having the meetings on HB3 plans and strategic plans and all of those, I guess it's already out there. But,
Yeah, we're just restating what we've already done.
but it's in the forward-facing document. It would prevent people from having to go to all the different locations to see where are we on the HB3 goals? Where are we on the, and so I could just see that there could be a place. I don't know, I could see it both ways is what I'm saying. I'm not necessarily saying a self-evaluation as much as I'm just stating a strategic spot for people to see. But then again, we're already putting that out there. Dr. Landry, aren't we already putting it out there in a variety of different locations? Or is it all in one place? Things such as our HB3 plans and our, how we're doing, how our goals are being achieved and things like that. Is it not out
I
there?
think it's in our teaching and learning page.
Yeah, it's on the website and a couple of different locations, as well as we presented it here in public.
Right, an open meeting.
Now that we've kind of talked about this, I just thought about, the criteria that's listed here. I don't know that we need to do anything different because I think what we're saying is it's already happening. I don't think it's bad having this in here. Maybe it's, instead of doing a self-evaluation, maybe it's just kind of redirecting to kind of the overall
The performance of the
progress.
district.
Yeah, that the district is already performing. Because at the end of the day, the board is ultimately accountable for everything that's done, right?
Right.
So it's a direct reflection. So maybe it just needs to be reworded and not so much a self-evaluation, just pointing back to what we already are doing.
Ms. Ballou, on section 11.182, it does talk about board improvement and evaluation tool. I mean, they found it important enough to put it in the statute. It's not a requirement, but.
It is very much strongly recommended
Yeah.
by the Texas Education Agency. Like, if you do any of their effective district framework or Lone Star governance, they're gonna say it's one of the #1 principles.
I'd like to keep it, but maybe we could take a vote.
Well, I'm going to speak to it. For me, the reason I find it important and worth the consideration you're giving it is because you're governing a learning organization that's built on self-development, self-evaluation, because that's what we expect of kids and teachers. And, right. Again, I completely respect the fact that you're evaluated in November, semi-annually, or whatever that is like.
Evaluated every month.
However, you are in the governance position of a learning organization. And I think that's why TDA probably really, for lack of a better term.
If Lone Star governance recommends it, then
Every one of these criteria, though, are criteria that, yes, we control. Well, we indirectly control, right? So these are criteria that the district is graded on, not the trustees. So it's kind of hard to.
You could remove the criteria and just create your own evaluation tool, and that often makes the most sense, right? You could determine what do you want to be evaluated on accomplishing over the next 12 months.
That just, to me, seems like a waste of time, but whatever y'all want to do.
Maybe on if we want to have this or
Well,
not.
we can take some of the different feedback from what we're hearing. We can adjust slightly. And then it's up to y'all which you decide to keep or strike in the final document.
Tiffany,
What
if
is
I
the
might.
green again? Sorry, is the green?
The green is local.
It's a recommendation
law
or
included.
policy.
It is a best practice, you know, I mean, and we, you know, when you look at this, it's a team self-evaluation. How are we behaving as we've agreed to behave and using that decorum and following our standards as a board? Are we sticking with the trustee goals that we've set forward, and did we conduct that evaluation right? It's just stop, look, and listen for you to determine how you feel that you're doing as a team.
This goes back, though, to we vow, when we are sworn in, we vow to uphold the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Texas. We're not controlled by anything other than that. So I would find it hard to find applicable criteria to apply in this situation.
Well, it says the commissioner shall develop a board of trustees improvement and evaluation tool. So there's one out there, correct?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he invests a lot of time in this effort.
So could you take a stab at rewording this, based on kind of what you've heard, and then just review it?
Collectively, it might be a valuable thing because we're still working on my evaluation tool. And so now that we've got all the data and stuff like that in, then maybe we can go back and look and see if there's any value to collecting it. And so, because again, we're still in this new process.
I think it makes sense to align everyone's expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what we expect of you, you're going to then put that on the administrators and principals, correct?
right.
It's going to align. The board should align. We all should align with the same expectations. And if we're not willing to self-evaluate, I have a problem with that. We're not perfect either. I think we've all determined that. So I think it's a worthwhile endeavor to have.
I've never done it before, but I'm willing to take a look and see what works.
I
I'm with
think it's
these two guys.
unnecessary.
Yep.
Provide, or we will work on simplifying it, and then perhaps even just referencing the model document from, you know, the commissioner, and that way it's not a process for development, it's not a bunch of time, but the spirit of the self-evaluative concept is there.
It's modeling what we
Yeah,
want
but
to
it's-
see in
it's
other
in it.
people. It's leadership.
It's 9:12.
Yes,
Okay.
moving on, please,
All right.
to our last item.
Okay, so I wanna talk for just a moment about trustee sanctions, and just let y'all know that while these are in here for discussion, I've read a recommendation that came through in writing. Gosh, I can't remember. Anyway, I read that, and I wanna start up front by stating that these sanctions are typically reserved for some behavior that is very serious in nature, right? You know, criminal behavior, or, you know, bribery, or
I
found
think it needs
conflicts of
to
interest,
state
things
that
like that. Do
then.
what?
It needs to state that then.
So there was some suggestion in writing, and I'm just gonna be upfront, since that came to me a while back. I paused that and said, that's great feedback, I'm gonna bring that. So I'm doing that up front to let you know that there was a suggestion for, whether it's in illustrations or examples, or defining, you know, when this might be appropriate use, so.
Was that suggestion from the public or from
It
an
was
employee?
No, it was from the board. It was relayed to me from a board member.
Okay.
But I wanted to make sure that because that came to me in writing, that it was also presented here for discussion.
Tiffany and I talked about this today too.
We did.
Because the severity of how we are and what we're doing, I mean, we just need to make sure that it's very explicit, and it's not, you know, as far as how that goes, and so.
I think that when you start talking about material censures too, you're gonna start to get into some First Amendment issues, and I'm very concerned about that happening.
I am concerned about this section, it being weaponized by any of us, and anyone in the future, right?
Yeah.
That may come in and have different political views or whatever.
Predicated on that
be.
being the case, I think that's what we're trying to do is reorganize this to be explicitly organized around egregious behaviors as far as that goes.
So
And
are we gonna kind of redo this section?
Yeah, I think
But
that would be
wouldn't that be
valuable.
handled by law enforcement? I mean, if there's an egregious, if you're breaking the law, then this is really, again, unnecessary because.
Yeah, I don't like that we're saying that people have to resign from the board if the board decides it to. I think that should comply with statutory.
Yeah, we don't
removal
have that
procedures.
control.
That's a great point.
We don't have that authority.
I think there should be some level of accountability, right? If we just went through 40 pages of what we are or not going to do, we have to have some way of enforcing that. But I think a censor is, I think it's problematic. So I'm not sure if we could find some kind of middle ground where maybe we talk about it in closed session. And then we move on.
I think the censure should be purely verbal.
This is not a required section. This is an optional section. The portion in blue is just if you have this section that is allowable by law to discuss and close, right? So, so that blue is in there just because this section is within your procedures. Now, if this is something that you want to strike as in whole, that's something that you can do. Or I do agree that some parameters on what might qualify for censure-worthy, sanction-worthy type of behavior would be really helpful for this section.
We had talked about kind of removing the more punitive parts of this document, and I do think that would be advisable. I mean, it feels like it's trying to suppress trustees' ability to engage in rigorous debate.
I don't want to leave this as part of our legacy for
I don't
other
either.
board members in the future
Agree.
to have to
I
abide by.
agree. I'm not in favor of this section either.
So we want to strike it.
I don't care about it being struck or not. I do want to make sure that we have the right, if someone legally gets in trouble for something, that they can be removed or not. I mean, they stay on.
We don't
Do
have
we
the
have
right
that
to remove
anywhere
them.
else?
No, I'm not saying us, that we remove them. I'm just saying, can they be removed in some sort of process?
Only if they've committed life felony, really.
We have to go
Okay,
through
that's
the
all,
court.
that's
And
what
that- and
the,
you- yeah,
that's what, that's
for.
law,
That's
that's what I'm getting
That's
at.
not something the board would do. That would be a disqualifying act under Texas law
Yeah.
for serving on the board.
So we don't need to explicitly state that.
No,
No.
and the thing is, it's like Trustee Duncan was saying, if you're in that deep, it's, you know what I mean? We're not.
Yeah,
gonna do
yeah,
anything.
that's why I'm like,
You said it better than me, but.
I'll also say that with or without this policy, you can still do it. And I have seen boards, just recently, I saw a board member be censured by other board members for what other board members perceived as inappropriate conduct. And they didn't have this policy in place. The reason to have this policy sometimes is to allow like some options so that it's just not so wide open.
Just
when you
seems
would
like
do
it's
it
out
or
of our
how you would do
purview.
it.
I think the point is that it's accountability for this document, and I don't know a fair way of doing that.
Wouldn't the accountability be our word in signing the document?
Yeah. I mean, I would hope so. I'm not always seeing that.
That's where an
so.
adjusted self-evaluation could also be helpful, right? Because we were talking about that. So I know there's some that want to remove and some that want to keep on that lane, but I feel like what I'm hearing is a pretty strong agreement that the trustee sanction section is,
I wish more adults could conduct themselves without tools like this. We're adults, we're grown women. We're expected to act that way. I find this completely unnecessary.
I agree.
I like the way Trustee Duncan said it. I don't want that to be our legacy.
And let it be an example for educators, I mean, for everyone, to meet an expectation that doesn't have to be in writing.
so, we have made it through the document, so you've done a great job. I so appreciate the input and feedback, and so I'm excited to be able to get a final draft back to you. The last thing that I will end with is that there were the sections that are received were worked on, but there are a few sections that, and this is not an exhaustive list, it's just exemplary, but like, I feel like we don't have committees in here, maybe trustee travel, which can go along with some of the training that we talked about earlier. Some boards will put a board advocacy section in and what that looks and feels like and some parameters there. And we don't specifically have a new trustee orientation program outlined. We have some board training outlined, but it's a different process with that onboarding.
So those are a few that we saw that were worthy of noting to you all. It's a very detailed document already, but we do want you to feel that it's, a document in whole. I don't know if you have some other sections in mind beyond that list that you feel like.
I agree with these, and one of the things I want to do during the course of the year is try to start framing these out, because it's the things y'all mentioned, and so that's your document, and so we're working through this. I was compelled with when Trustee Gambino was coming on, and I pulled out my thing that I usually had done with TASB, and so I started creating my own model and plan and process, and so the thing is that as we ferret that out, to see our test case, how it's going, and how we can do better. So.
Well, what I'm wondering is, though, should we draft these sections and include them in your next draft? So they would be more about committees, more about trustee travel. Some of this is also coming from dialogue that's happened. So more about trustee travel, more about board advocacy, or even superintendent advocacy, and
feel
then
like-
new trustee orientation. Do you want those sections fleshed for your next
We've got
draft?
42 pages, so it's getting really extensive. I don't think we need to add more sections.
With regard to onboarding or orientation for trustees, that's more of a procedural thing, right?
Okay.
That meets the moment.
And that would be my one, that would be my one request, that we procedurally make sure that we do some sort of, it's what we have been discussing since the change in administration, that we have nothing written out or in process or procedure. So if you could just do that. So
Absolutely.
in all your spare time.
I really kind of like my checklist thing. I may put some little things where you dot and it's finished. Very nice. So I can make that happen.
May
Yes,
I
sir.
weigh in? One of the things that we had talked about early on, way back when we first met, was the goal was to get this to a document that you had that was readily available. And then we said we can always come back and we can add or take away or remove at a set time. So there is needs for these other sections. Don't hear us say they're not. We also need, you've got a long document. We know that. There's building fatigue in getting to this point. We see that. So I honestly think that we move to get you the cleanest possible, best copy of what we have right now. And that the goal is to get that implemented. And then Dr. Vincent and I and our team can talk about what it looks like to add on in the future. Because I think it's real important with the initiatives that are coming and the reports you're getting back. I think it's, like, to me, I think having a, for lack of a better term, a guidebook. I think this is a great start. So I know there's other rabbit holes. I do, and I'm keenly aware of those. But from a timing standpoint and where we are, maybe this is what we clean and then come back and talk whatever that looks like.
Can I just add?
We didn't draft whole sections just because we also didn't want to make assumptions that these were considered, but purposely not included because they might fit better procedurally somewhere else. So we wanted to be respectful of that because we know there was a ton of work that was put into the document that led to the document that led to where we are tonight. And so, so just so you know, we wanted to really honor and respect what the document already had and what existed. And we've already had discussion about the potential for procedural, addressing this procedurally or administratively.
Actually, in the
Can
really
I
good.
just add, sorry, on the committees, we've tried that. Didn't work very well. So I'm going to say we probably don't.
Oh, I
want
thought
more
we had just
committees.
moved on from that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, the travel, I'm just looking at your list. The travel, we hit that with
Right.
with trustee training. I think that would be included, right? Board advocacy, I would like to see that later, like maybe before legislative session.
Well, we're
but
we're working on that
that.
because there's 2 or 3 real big questions we need to ask about how we do it.
Yeah, but I think that, is later down the line, and then the orientation, I think it's procedure.
So I want to.
Rope into the orientation and training can rope into the list and log that with the
Yeah.
adjusted language that we made this evening, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so that being said, and what you, Ron, what you had just commented on about this being, it's basically a living, breathing document. It's
Correct.
being molded and developed. It's intended to not hamstring any future boards, that they can come back and make it work for what their time, their situation later. That leads me to a recommendation that was made to Dr. Vincent and I from Trustee May about I know we kind of say it in the beginning of this, but she presented, did you share it with them? I couldn't remember. It lays that out, and I think that the rest of the board should hear it and have that to consider, that this go at the beginning, that we are not by any ways trying to hamstring anyone in the future. This is just where we are as a board, where we are in operating as a procedures and a process for us, but it could be amended at any given time as a board sees fit. So do you want to share that?
I think you just said it, but yeah, I think.
Oh, sorry.
If I could just boil it down, I guess a concern that I had was there was a previous, I think it was a code of conduct. I don't even remember exactly what it was, and it was floating around. It was very controversial, and it didn't seem to have an author to it. Nobody owned it, but it just was floating around. And I never want this to become that. I want, because this is like a document that we are creating, but the next board will inherit it, and then the next board will inherit it. And I just want to make sure that we're able to say that to other boards, right? That it doesn't evolve into something and board members are just signing it without thinking about it and understanding this doesn't prevent them from doing their duty. And I know you say it in there, but it's almost like a letter to the next board, right? And in some of it, it could even say that, these procedures reflect the collective agreements of a sitting board at a moment in time. Future boards retain full authority to amend, suspend, or replace these procedures as they see fit. Governance is not static. It evolves with leadership, community expectations, and district needs. And I think it just really lends itself, like just a letter to future boards.
And I think, so it sounds to me like you've drafted a preface for the document in the sentiment of what you all feel.
We'll take it.
And, yeah, I mean, so if that's something that y'all would like to see added as a preface, then I
don't know if the
welcome
rest
you
of the
sending
board
that language through.
feels that way or not. So
Well, this is a good time for that discussion. I think the alternative thought process is we really want a sound document that we are all going to agree to live and conduct our proceedings by, that have best practices, so that hopefully those next boards want to continue that. But
True.
Things change, people shift, times change, and you have to have an iterative concept. There's not going to be any policy or procedure, and legislative changes come every couple of years. You have to know that any of these types of documents are going to have review and iteration. So I think that's a lovely way of putting that. And I think we can blend those two concepts that, we've worked hard to provide what we feel is a model document, and that we are all in agreement that we're going to use moving forward. But, then adding that language you mentioned would be really good. So if y'all would like to consider or see a preface with some of that blended language, we can certainly add that in.
I would appreciate if you would add a draft of that. If
It'd look
Trustee
good.
May could add
That'd be
that.
great. Also, as a reward for your toil and struggle tonight, in your mailbox is no, it's not a check. I wish. No, it's Ron Morrison has got his goals in our everything, all of your information down from the study, and we're going to really enjoy reading it. It's going to be really great. So all of this stuff is coming together. Yeah, it's in your
It came
it's in
in
your
the
email.
email.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we did not do the superintendent part. Are we doing that this evening, or are we moving on?
I have to leave soon, so I already overstayed how long I was supposed to.
It is up to y'all.
We can
Completely
leave it.
up
That
to
doesn't
y'all.
matter. I'm good. We're gonna be working on my board goals anyway.
I think that would
so it
go
might
in
be more
about- in-
appropriate
I
then.
think so. I think it would go perfect hand in hand with that. So, all right.
Your call. If you want.
So if there's no further discussion, all right, seeing no further discussion or business, this meeting is adjourned, and the time is 9:28.